Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Leon and Naota. Hope you guys are well. Leon, I'll start with you because it seems to be a lot of pressure on you. Like, people on Twitter are expecting you to just go fully retard, fully meltdown on the show.
I think I worked through my meltdown. I didn't sleep very much on Sunday. It was quite the meltdown, and I own my meltdown, and I'm proud of my meltdown. I feel like I took meltdowns into different places where meltdowns haven't been before, so yeah, I feel like it's a victory.
Let's talk about the fight, though.
Talk about the fight.
I was talking with you and Naota at the time, and you guys had it a bit wider than I did. First of all, give us your scorecard and just your view on the fight overall.
Where your scorecard at?
Yeah, well, as for the fight, it was as good a fight as we could have expected from that matchup. I don't think anyone can be critical of the skills on show from both guys. You know, that was high level shit that we don't often get to see, and so I was very, very excited before, very excited during, probably a little bit more overexcited in the aftermath. But you know, it was a very good fight, but my scorecard was I had Kovalev winning 115 to 112. Yeah, and I imagine that does have to come with a caveat that, and I'm happy to admit that I dislike Ward more than any other fighter presently active at the moment. So I imagine some people would suggest that would throw some kind of bias on my card. But in every fight I've ever watched Ward in previously, I've scored the fight to him because I believed he's won the fight. And this is the first time I've ever seen anyone come close to beating him. And I believe he did beat him in a very close fight. But I still believe he won the fight.
Yeah, I was just saying to Naota before we started the show, I had it 114, 113 to Kovalev. I could see it maybe being a draw, and I could see Kovalev winning a bit wider. I can't really give any credence to Ward winning. You would have to give him every close round for having, for him having to win the fight. I didn't really see that at any point. Naota, your thoughts, your scorecard, and your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, man, I had it 116 to 111. I'm actually surprised that I had it wider than Leon did. I had it 8 rounds to 4. I thought that Kovalev, of course, pretty much controlled the first half of the fight. Ward, of course, came on in the second half. But kind of similar to you, Cam, I felt like you have to pretty much give Ward every close round, including rounds that he probably shouldn't have gotten in order to win that fight. So, I mean, just the way that it seemed to me was that even though Ward was clawing his way back into the fight and doing extremely well in spots in those later rounds, like, round 6 through 12 and such, I thought that Kovalev was very much still in those rounds, and he was making Ward have to work for every single one of those rounds and made it so that he didn't necessarily win each and every one of them. Particularly, as Ward was trying to bolo punch and, tried to show off a little bit, he ate flush jabs. The only guy who actually even managed to taunt successfully in those later rounds was Kovalev. I saw him do like those kind of like weird, he did like a little like sidestep, 2-step, and then throw a right hand. He managed to land that. When he bolo punched, he managed to land his jab. When Ward bolo punched, he ate a flush jab. So, I mean, even just in that, I mean, of course, it's showing off doesn't necessarily score you points. Clean punching does. But even with regards to that, Kovalev, to me, was still landing the cleaner punches, including even when Ward was able to land some of those nice, flashy left hooks. Even though Kovalev was kind of getting knocked off balance as he came forward, he was still landing his own kind of left. It was almost like a hooker cut, you might call it. It was almost like a cross between a hook and an uppercut at the same time. So they were pretty much landing at the same time, by and large, in those later rounds. So to me, like, there was a lot of toss-ups with regards to that. So, I mean, if you're trying to give Ward pretty much all those late rounds the same way that the judges gave it, like, you're really giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt. And the way I see it is the judges probably were reacting big time to the way the crowd was reacting. and they started watching Ward a little bit more than they were watching the fight itself. You know, it's like they stopped watching the fight and started watching Ward in those later rounds. Almost like the way that a lot of people talk about with Leonard and Hagler. You know, they stopped watching the fight and they started watching Leonard. So basically, that's pretty much the way I see it with regards to how the fight got scored for Ward. I was definitely surprised. Every bit as much as Andre Ward himself was surprised that the judges all gave it to him, 114 to 113. You know, he was. You can't tell me that he was not mad surprised when he heard his name being mentioned. When he heard and the new, you know, you could see his face light up like a Christmas tree, man. And then all that stuff with Kellerman after the fact saying, oh yeah, he wasn't surprised, not at all, man. That was a fantastic acting job from Andre. That being said, though, I mean, you got to give him props for clawing his way back into that fight, taking advantage of Kovalev slowing down in the second half of that fight. His stamina definitely let him down with regards to conclusively putting the nail in the coffin. And I mean, Ward showed why he's been a great fighter the last few years, even if not necessarily the greatest. Because you know, to me, like you know, if you're trying to get that pound for pound spot, you can't be getting it off of gifts. So that's just how I saw it.
Leon, just so you know, when you're listening, you can hear some mic noise off you, Leon. Just so you know.
Oh, right, sorry.
No worries, but it's a
might want to mute a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a delight and a pleasure to say we have a friend of the show and the guy that we quite often communicate with on Twitter, Christoph. What's happening, Christoph?
What's going on, boys? Pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. And just so the people at home, to make them aware that you are half Russian, so your thoughts may be slightly biased.
Yeah, I mean, just slightly, but I mean, it's a good point you bring that up. Actually, I guess my main sort of grief with the fight is it's not the fight itself. It was a close fight. Could have gone either way. I saw it for Kovalev, but I was just absolutely staggered that there was 3 American judges judging. I mean, really, that's really, really bad on Duva's part. I think she should be angling for her guy and making sure the judges are neutral. I mean, Las Vegas, Nevada, you know, it's not a long drive from Oakland. It's so far away from where Kovalev's from. And then you've got the 3 Yank judges judging against him. For me, that doesn't sit well. You know, it's a world title fight. It's an international fight with international interest. I feel as though, you know, there should have been some international judging.
Yeah, Duva dropped the ball there, and I'm not, you know, the scorecards are bad, but I'm not sure we can never prove how corrupt anything is, or if it is or isn't corrupt. But I think you don't let your fighter go in there with those 3 guys stacked not against him, but you need some representation, even if it's a German guy, British guy. You just need someone from somewhere.
Generally speaking, I think like American bias tends to be overrated by and large. But I think with Ward, it tends to be a little bit of a different case, simply because of the fact that he's the last gold medalist for the U.S. And like he also has a big following in Oakland and around those parts. So, you know, he's definitely not your typical like American fighter that just kind of came up the hard way and just had a kind of a groundswell of fan support. He's a guy that, you know, has been highly hailed since his amateur days, since the Olympics and such. And so, you know, it's a bit of a different case as opposed to most fighters, where I'd say that generally speaking, American judges can be pretty fair for the most part. You know, and I'm not necessarily saying that they were unfair, but, you know, just kind of giving credence to some of your argument. I think that with Ward, there's more likelihood that they could be a bit more biased than with most other American fighters.
Christoph,
I'm not. Sorry, Cam, go ahead.
Did you score it?
I didn't know. I mean, I told Hammad that I scored it. I don't really like to score fights that I'm really, really interested when I'm watching them live.
You just want to
because,
sit and enjoy
I feel
it.
like it takes away from the moment. You know, I woke up live for it, so I wanted to watch it myself. I think if I was to score it, I think I would have given 6 to Kovalev, 5 to Ward, and then 1 even. I think that's roughly what I would have gone with. But at the same time, you know, I find it hard giving the fight to Ward, because it's like I was saying to somebody on Twitter, right? Kovalev, for me, he was the aggressor. He was on the front foot. He threw more. He landed more. And when he landed, it was with greater authority. So, you know, that's how I judge a fight, right? I mean, Ward, he had his moments as well. Of course, he came on in the latter rounds, but I just can't really see how he did enough to win convincingly. And, you know, I hate that saying, oh, you have to snatch it from the champion, because it's utter bullshit. But in this fight, I really feel as though that does resonate somewhat.
You got to rip the belt away, though, Christoph. You got to rip it from the champ.
I mean, I think I found the scoring difficult to take because it was such a sweeping run at the end. I've watched 10 twice now. I just don't see how you give 10 to Ward. I've watched it, and that's the one that really bugs me. If I was Kovalev, that'd be the thing that's the most, because that one round would have won it for him, wouldn't it? Or draw. But that round really got to me. Like, I couldn't believe that it was given to Ward. That was a shocker.
I watched the Sky coverage live, and I just watched the HBO fight, well, their version, just before we started. And as much as I love Harold Lederman, man, I think he has become senile now. There was one round which was a clear, I think it was the 9th, which was a clear Ward round, and he gave it to Kovalev. And I just didn't see that. But just with the fight overall, for me, I saw first half kind of clear to Kovalev, especially with the knockdown in the second. I know you guys kind of almost give it him like a straight zip for the first half of the fight. I think Ward had success after he got dropped in the third. I think he came back really well in the third. I did give it to him. He was picking Kovalev with the jab. Don't get me wrong, like Kova had early success in the first half of the third round, but I think Ward was just a bit more precise and just a bit sharper. I
just see that as it's kind of. I didn't see that. I just felt like people gave him the round because he did a little bit better than getting knocked down in the previous round. Like he did. That's what I mean. It just feels like we're getting into one of these guys where he's getting a lot of credit for such a small amount of output sometimes. I feel he got a lot of credit in that fight. He did very, very well, but I felt like he got all the close rounds.
Yeah, that's spot on, Leon. I agree so much, right? If you're getting beaten up in round 2, just because you take less of a beating in round 3 doesn't mean you've won that round. If you do less shit, you could still be doing worse than your opponent. That doesn't mean you should get that round. That really, really pisses me off. It's like people might have been surprised that Kovalev didn't stop him or drop him again. Well, that may be the case, right? But that doesn't mean that Ward won that round because he didn't get put on the floor or he wasn't knocked out clean or, whatever else. That's a very good point.
But I saw. This is what got me fucking raging. This is why I went into a full fucking meltdown, because I saw just insane fucking cards, man. Like Paulie Malignaggi gave him 1 round. He gave Kovalev 1 round in the first 6. I mean, how am I not meant to be fucking upset when I see that shit? And no, I don't have a very I'm prone to overreactions and over emotional reactions to fight. And I don't care. Like, some people say, oh, you've got to be more kind of level-headed about these things. It's bullshit. No, there's just so much bad scoring going on out there. It's just, I was fucking raging, man.
Right, so just to the second half of the fight, what was everyone's opinion? Was it a case, did you guys see Kova slowing down a bit? Was it a case of, he's not really done that many 12 rounds? Ward's, Naota said it just before we started, like, people were praising Ward's bodywork like he was Mexican, and I wouldn't take it that far, but I thought his bodywork throughout the fight was quite decent, and I definitely think that was part of the reason why Kovalev did slow down down the stretch, and I just didn't see Kovalev putting punches together in the second half of the fight as much. I just think, early on he was just doing that 1-2-1 and then finish with another 2-punch combination and step back out, where I didn't really think he was doing it down the stretch. He was looking for more of the jabs and then just like the one and then the arch and the backhand. He wasn't really putting more than 2-punch combinations, and I think that's where Ward did have success in the later rounds, where he was just maybe output similar but more precise. He was actually landing a lot of more of his punches, where Kovalev was stepping in but Ward was stepping out, so he wasn't landing.
There was from 6 to 8, I thought there was a little bit more hesitance from Kovalev, and I thought he kind of got winded in there. He picked it up in the last few, but I'd say like from 6 to 8 is where Ward definitely got back into it. He got into a little bit of a rhythm and started being able to kind of box on even terms, or slightly better than even terms with Kovalev, and that's where I think he managed to get a lot of eyes on him with regards to what he was doing.
He definitely won rounds. I gave him 4 of the last 6. So he was definitely winning rounds there. But there's this, I'm hearing and seeing this idea, and some of the scoring suggests that he wasn't in that fight at all in those last 6 rounds. Like, he didn't land on Ward at all. That's what some people are saying, that he didn't land on Ward at all in the last 6 rounds. He hurt him with a jab when he was throwing a fucking bolo punch.
I want someone
it wasn't a non-event. Ward did do very, very well, but I'm hit. The way some people are telling it is that that Kovalev was gone in those last 6 rounds, like he was a non-entity almost.
Like it was like Devin Alexander versus Maidana. Like that's the way that they're acting. The way that the second half was. If
anyone creates a GIF or sees a GIF of Ward doing that bolo and getting jabbed in his face, please send it to me because I think it's hilarious.
That was the thing of beauty. But look, Ward did really, really well to get into his round. And the 12 was close, and I could have given that to Ward. But that round 10, that fucking wins it for Kovalev for me.
Yeah.
That's the one that's the fucking... There was no robbery apart from that round.
Yo, Leon,
round was a robbery.
Can I ask in the second half, so 7-12, what did you give to Kovalev? Leon, you there?
10 and 12. I gave him 10 and 12.
Okay, I give him 7 and 10. I could have given him 12. 12 again was a bit of a swing round, but...
Yeah, I gave him 7, 10, and 12.
Yeah, I think for me, just to kind of finish it off, I just think close fight, but I think Kovalev was very unlucky to lose that. They're saying rematch, definitely need a rematch. Well, people were saying after the fight, Ward's going to take another 2 years off now, so hopefully that doesn't happen.
I'm not interested in watching him fight anyone other than Kovalev again.
Yeah.
No one else.
Definitely
I'm not interested I'm not interested in any of his fucking bullshit. Because we know this shit's coming, man. This guy's going to be fucking insufferable to deal with now, man.
Well, they're saying that they have an immediate rematch. It's not just a rematch clause, but an immediate rematch clause. So,
what fight has been easy to make with Ward, apart from the Super 6 fights, which he was contractually written into? None. The man. That's my problem with him. I just don't like the guy on so many levels. But that's my issue. This fight better fucking happen. But I've got a feeling this will get jammed up.
Yeah, but it's
entirely possible.
Don't we want to see the Paul Smith rematch with Ward? Come on, that's a fight we won't mind in the interim, isn't it?
You know what? Leave the Scousers alone because I've got a bit for them later. Right? But before we move on, can I just ask a question to all three of you? What did you think of John David Jackson in the corner? Because I was disappointed. I mean, from what they showed, right? The fight is on a knife edge. You've got Virgil, whispering sweet nothings into Ward's ear to get him aroused and excited for the second half of the fight. And you've got, John David Jackson just staring at Kovalev and not even saying anything, and Kovalev just sitting there looking, like an idiot. And you're just thinking, well, what the fuck? Give some instructions. Like, I don't know. I was disappointed with his corner work, really.
Yeah, well, he should have definitely noticed that he was letting the fight slip away from him in those rounds. He did what a lot of people said he would do, that it takes him too long to adapt, and he got lost in those rounds.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Headhunting.
I agree completely.
Yeah, it's funny.
But that's John David Jackson's job, to tell him.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if there's language
barrier.
barrier.
Get his head back into it.
Exactly,
Yeah,
right.
and he failed in doing that because that's where Hunter succeeded in a major way. Because Ward was looking like he was in panic mode. Hunter managed to get Ward to calm the fuck down and to get his shit together and to get back into the fight. I credit Hunter pretty much for even just giving Ward a chance to win that fight from the very jump. But yeah, compared to Jackson pretty much looked like a deer in the headlights in those later rounds. Like not really knowing what's going on and not really giving his man the proper advice in order to just put the nail in the coffin, like I've said a couple of times, in order to make sure that he gets a decision.
This is the doghouse. You gotta win those 3 rounds, Dre.
Oh
God.
He's so creepy. He's so fucking creepy.
He is creepy, but I agree with you, Christopher. I think Jackson was very poor. He wasn't given really any instructions. He was just given the odd, like, oh, you need to let those shots out and come step to your right or this and that. But yeah, it wasn't enough, and I think he needed to G him up a bit. And like Naoto said, that's one thing that Virgil does really well. He does, it's in that intro. He has, even though he sounds creepy as fuck, he does know how to G his fighter up and give him the extra motivation to try and win the last few rounds.
Sounds like ringside Robbie.
Robbie would do better in the corner than Jackson did, I think.
I don't disagree. But yeah, no, it was, it kind of reminded me just a fraction of Darrell DeGale. Because, I mean, I gave Kovalev the first 4 rounds, sorry. And very similar with DeGale Darrell, and DeGale dropped him as well. I know he dropped Darrell twice and whatnot. And then DeGale eased off the gas pedal. But the last 2 rounds, Jim McDonnell screaming in DeGale's ear, right, we need these 2 rounds. And then DeGale goes out and he definitely wins the 12th, and he arguably wins the 11th. I suppose you could say Kovalev won the 12th, but the same kind of principle applies, right? John David Jackson for me should have been on Kovalev round 6, 7, and 8. Keep it long, keep it mid-distance. Don't get involved in a fight that you don't need to. You don't need to be up close with him. You don't need to be wrestling with him. Keep him at the end of your jab. You're the much longer guy. He looked way bigger than Ward as well. He looked huge compared to him, I thought. Even though at the weigh-in they looked the similar size. So, I don't know, John David Jackson takes a lot of blame for me. A hell of a lot. I think Kovalev's been let down by his team, promoter and trainer.
I totally agree. Duva.
I completely agree. But look, Ward's got that shit, man. He's like that snake in Jungle Book where you look into its eyes and he can hypnotise you in there. And he dragged him into his fight, didn't he, for those middle to late rounds.
You got to say though, his jab was on point. That stab jab to the stomach, and just the timing of the jab up top as well, man. Like, he snapped Kovalev's head back a lot.
He did, but I always felt that the punches with the most effect were all thrown by Kovalev. All any kind of power that was landed, and I know that's a dirty word in boxing sometimes, power shots that were landed where they seemed to have a visible effect on the fighter were all for Kovalev. So in a close fight, I feel like, I don't think he got enough credit for those shots. We're in Floyd territory where any close round goes to the perceived slick technical boxer. That's what feels like happened to me.
And for a slick technical boxer, he sure got hit a lot.
Oh yeah,
he sure got hit flush a lot and dropped a lot for a slick technical boxer, as opposed to come forward fighters who actually don't get dropped ever.
And this one's for Brian. This puts to bed any idea that he was anywhere near the level of Floyd. At least when Floyd did it, he wasn't getting punched, however, I'm one of his biggest haters, but Floyd always looked good doing it, didn't he?
Leon, do you think the size difference between sort of Floyd Mayweather 5'8", 140 pounds average throughout his career, and Ward, sort of 6 foot tall, quite a big guy. Do you think that makes any difference though?
I'm sure it does, but I just think that he was in a close fight that I think he lost, and it was good. It was great to see someone do that to Ward, because we wanted to see Ward tested, and he was, so on that level it's good,
Even with that though, Roy Jones was bigger than Andre Ward, and he moved around just fine. So, I mean, saying like, the size difference and what have you, guys move sometimes. Some guys are just quicker than others. Some guys are just more agile than others, regardless of weight class. Muhammad Ali was, on his toes at all times. Mike Tyson was fast as damn near anybody with his feet in his prime. So, I mean, just trying to act like that is a factor entirely, is I think being somewhat disingenuous of just the full spectrum of fighters that exist at every single weight class. You're going to find athletic, agile guys at every weight class. You're going to find huge punchers at every weight class, and you'll find every style possible as long as you have the field of the field of competition great enough. But just Ward didn't put on the dominant display. He didn't put on a Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol display. So people acting as though he did are being disingenuous themselves. And being and foolish if they actually believe that, which I honestly don't think that they do.
All right. My boy Hammad is going to jump on, and I spoke to him after the fight. He said he had Ward winning, I think 114, 113. So we'll get his view in the fight. Hammad. Yo, you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here. What's going on?
Chilling, bro. Give us your thoughts on the fight.
It was shit, man.
Nah, it wasn't a shit fight. Stop trolling.
I think it was shit, honestly. I didn't like the fight. A lot of clinching, grappling, wrestling, headlocks. It was shit, man. It was that bad that I couldn't rewatch it. Like, watching it live, I scored it for Ward 114, 113, but I don't know, man. My scorecard not credible. It was 5 a.m. I was really tired. The only thing I watched back was that round 10, because watching it live, I gave it to Ward. But then I watched it back and I saw that he was showboating a lot. And I think because I was obviously really tired at 5 a.m, I was thinking Ward's in control here, whereas he was actually just getting punched in his face every time. Like.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
And I was thinking, what the hell? How did I give this round to Ward? And so if I did change that, then I would have had Kovalev winning 140, 130. But I don't know, man. I think the outrage afterwards is crazy. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it's such a fine margin, obviously, because it's not like a normal fight where there was no knockdowns. It would just either be there's 7-5, then there's a draw, then there's 7-5 either way. But it's like literally one round separates a Ward win and separates a Kovalev win. So as for the fight, anyways, I thought early on Ward was struggling with Kovalev's range. Like, Kovalev looked massive in there. He looked huge. He looked long. And Ward was just struggling. I think Ward tried to get his jab going, and then he realized really early that, wow, this guy's got he's got reach on him. He's got long arms, and there was that one jab in the first round that literally buckled Ward. But I would say it's because Ward was landing his own jab at the same time, but it significantly shook Ward to his boots. Ward tripped up backwards, and he really felt that. And then obviously in the second round, the beautiful right hand, Ward tried to throw his right hand after slipping the jab, and he got caught in between. Not caught in between, but he got caught before he threw his right hand. And Ward's very lucky that hit him in the nose, eyebrow area, that part. If that caught him on the chin, he would have been out. That's why he got up, and he seemed fine when he got up. He knew where he was, and he was laughing, and not laughing, but smiling, and straight away told the referee, I'm all right. I don't think Ward was on his way out, but he was shook up. He knew that this guy can bang, and I got to be careful. And then I think Kovalev started to control things until probably about round 5. And then from round 6 onwards, I think the rounds were very similar. It was the same kind of rounds over and over again. A lot of clinching, and then you would get 30 or 40 seconds of action where you have to decide who actually won the round from that. And it just kept looking the same. And then I gave Ward the previous round, so I'm thinking the round just looked the same to the previous one. I gave it to Ward, so I got to give it to Ward again. And then it just ended up being repetitive. And then around round 9, I think it was round 9, was a big round for Ward. Ward dominated the round. It was the first round which he actually won clearly.
Yep, I agree.
Kovalev had no shout in that round, and that's when I thought, you know what, Ward might nick this. If Ward can continue to win the following rounds, he could end up nicking this. But then, obviously, like I said, round 10 I gave to Ward live, but it was a Kovalev round, and then 11, I think Ward won that one, and then I gave Kovalev the 12th round. So if I gave Kovalev the 10th round live, then obviously I would have had it the other way for Kovalev. But Ward adjusted, to be fair to him. He did really well. He adjusted to Kovalev's length and Kovalev's reach and his like, Kovalev's got that little, he's got good footwork, but it's not good aggressive footwork where he's putting you under pressure with it. He's got that good footwork where he slides literally in and out of range by millimeters. So Ward obviously was struggling earlier with that range, but then obviously afterwards he started finding the range. He was jabbing really well, like he was literally at times he was snapping Kovalev's head right back with the jab. He was even landing the left hooks. Ward, like we've always said, like he wasn't throwing the right hand much. I think after getting knocked down, after trying to throw the right hand, I think he just thought, you know what, I'm just going to play it safe and just use the left hand, the lead hand, the jabs, the left hooks. And even, to be fair, Ward did a lot of body work, and that's one thing that I was disappointed about Kovalev. After he knocked him down, it was like that ruined him because he just started headhunting. He wasn't going to the body. Kovalev should have been hitting anything. He should be hitting arms, shoulders, chest. He should have just been putting stuff on Ward, and he was just headhunting, waiting for that shot. And then his offense got a bit repetitive as well. He was throwing just the 1-2s or the 2-1s, and it was just getting really repetitive. And Ward adjusted to all of that. And Kovalev gassed badly as well, to be honest. He gassed terribly down the stretch. And I don't know, they said something about he hurt his right hand. I think that's true because he wasn't throwing that many right hands down the stretch either. But overall, like I said, Kovalev should be kicking himself. I think he lost himself that fight. I don't think Ward won that fight. I think Kovalev lost it, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, he definitely let him get back into it.
Yeah.
Definitely let him get back into it. He very well could have put the nail in the coffin. And, with, just hitting anything and everything, like you mentioned, the shoulders, the arms, the chest, and so on. I think it's kind of funny because that's actually the reason why I had initially picked Ward to win the fight, just because of the fact that I felt that Kovalev is too methodical. He's too methodical for his own good. He doesn't like hit you and then hurt you and then like immediately jump on you the way like a Maidana would, for instance. That's just one of the names that keeps jumping out at me, where like he has that killer instinct. He wants to finish you right then and there. He stays just a little too methodical, which is a good thing, if you're fighting a guy that's, really dangerous, a dangerous puncher. If he was fighting Adonis Stevenson, I think that'd be an excellent quality to have. But against a Ward who is going to try to prey on you being methodical and try to be more methodical than you are, that's definitely a strategic mistake.
Yep. All right. Just a few things of what Hammad has said. I'll ask the rest of you. I'll start with you, Christoph. To the fight, it was a poor fight. I actually thought it was a decent fight. It wasn't the best fight that I've seen, and it wasn't obviously one of the worst. I think it was just in the middle ground. What about you?
Right. You know what? This is a bit of an oxymoron. I thought it was an uninteresting fight, but a captivating fight at the same time. So, no, basically, hear me out. So the action, apart from, sort of when Kovalev dropped him and, staggered him a bit in the first round with a jab, was kind of, it wasn't edge of your seat sort of stuff for a casual fan. But for me, I was on the edge of my seat. I was staring at the screen, and I was loving it because it was so intense. And I was wondering, what's going to happen next. I was really trying to dissect every move that they were doing with their eyes because it was these are two guys, and they are both so, so good. I don't think we can understate how good they both are. I mean, Kovalev, Spencer Fearon saying that he's not a good boxer. I mean, just an absolute moron. He's a fantastic
boxer. He's a spastic, that man, though.
Yeah, no, we all know his agenda. We all know his agenda, the Black Panther, Spencer Fearon. But yeah, anyway, I mean, just two world-class boxers. So I was fascinated just by them both being in the ring at the same time because we're just used to such shit on a weekly basis. So although it might not have been, all guns blazing, it wasn't a Salido Vargas kind of fight. It was, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very interesting.
Leon, good fight, shit fight.
Like I said earlier, I think it's as good as we could have expected it to be from that stylistic matchup. I think it was as good as we could have expected. because we know that. Look, it was the best fight Ward's ever been in for me, and we know he's a spoiler, so we got lucky with the good rounds.
Yeah, Neil.
Because his agenda is to win it anyhow, isn't it?
Yeah, Neil.
Well, I mean, a lot of the way that Ward wins a fight is like you kind of mentioned, by spoiling, by kind of taking the air out of the fight, by being like Bernard Hopkins, making it not really an eye-pleasing fight necessarily in terms of just like fast-paced action. It's like he's trying to slow the tempo down. The reason why it was an interesting fight is because Kovalev sped the tempo up and forced Ward to have to speed up with him in order to adjust to the pace of the fight. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great fight to watch live, especially with regards to the amount of tension that there was. When Kovalev dropped Ward, you're thinking like, okay, is Ward going to be able to claw back? Is Kovalev going to be able to hurt him again or drop him again? So there was definitely a lot of drama throughout the fight. But and then the drama of Ward making his way back into the fight and making it at least close enough for him to be able to get it on the scorecards. But on like repeated watchings, it's not quite necessarily as interesting. They both did a lot of high level skilled stuff in there, but at the same time, like the way that people were acting with regards to like, oh, like these are like the two best guys and the winner should be the pound for pound. I big time disagree with that. I big time disagree with that because just the way that Ward struggled so mightily early and the way that Kovalev struggled so mightily late gives enough room for critique that neither of them should have that top spot, whether you think that Ward legitimately won or if you think that Kovalev won and got robbed straight up.
Yeah, like Christoph though, I'm captivated if I'm not on social media at the same time as a fight, if I'm not giving my score for that round on Twitter, or if I'm not on WhatsApp or whatever. And this was a fight where I wasn't really doing that. I was just focused on the fight, listening to the corner work, if we had any. And yeah, it was a fight that I was really interested in, even though it didn't have that explosive factor at some points. But my other question, just to piggyback off what Hammad was saying, he mentioned the holding and stuff. I didn't think that holding from Ward was excessive. Did you guys think? I know, and people after the fact, I didn't really see during the fight people saying, "Oh, the holding's really bad." But after Ward got the nod, it seems like, oh, people are going back to the holding. What's everyone's thoughts on that?
It was what I expected it to be. We knew he would be involved in clinches. There would be no warnings or anything would happen. So it didn't really register to me. It's just that the ones where there was a lot of clinching in the rounds, Ward won. So maybe I'm guilty of it as well.
The only way Ward was winning that fight was, by making it messy, up close, by clinching, by getting close to.
And he's very good at it. And
he was getting boxed at long range. You can't really. I don't really think you can argue anything otherwise. I don't know what Naota thinks or what everybody else thinks, but that's just how I saw it. Mid to long range, he was getting boxed.
Pretty much.
The jab started working though. It did start working
until late. I felt like Ward was able to box with Kovalev at mid range, but pretty much at long distance, Kovalev controlled that pretty almost the entire fight. He had the ring center. He was the ring general in there. Ward was trying to circle around and he was getting trapped. He was almost like trapping himself, even though Kovalev isn't necessarily the best fighter at even cutting off the ring. It's like Ward was just making the mistake of kind of trapping himself into either up against the ropes or in the corner, and Kovalev wasn't making the mistake of getting too far ahead of himself. He was like doing that kind of short step forward, short step back, the same way they did with Bernard Hopkins. And the whole idea of like, oh, Kovalev is not a great boxer. If he wasn't a great boxer, Ward legitimately would have dominated that fight, and Hopkins might have even beaten him back when they fought. So, Kovalev definitely showed a boxing brain in there, and showed a fair IQ. What really let him down was more so his conditioning in the fight, and then just in the later rounds, not necessarily going to the body enough, and just not having a high enough output in order to stamp his name in the judges' minds as the clear victor.
I was impressed with the way Kovalev did handle Ward on the inside. He was making it tough for Ward. Like, he was having most of the success, even if he wasn't if he wasn't one that was starting off the clinch. He was having the last word. He would kind of throw Ward off him.
Yeah, it was like Ward would try to bully him, and he got bullied.
Yeah, and that really impressed me because I've said in the past, like, Kova's got no inside game, and obviously clinching isn't inside game. Inside game is actually, you know, fluid and punching and, you know, being able to spin off on stuff. But I was really impressed with the way he handled Ward. But I think that was also one of the reasons he did maybe fade, because that takes a lot of energy away from you, man. And, you know, add to the fact that Ward was going to the body and the fact that Kovalev's gas tank isn't the best in the later rounds, you know, combine all them together, you know, it maybe is the reason he didn't have the output in the later rounds.
Yeah, and that's what Ward wants to do, because we all know that he's extraordinarily athletically gifted, as in on the stamina side of things. So he's happy for him to get tied up. And Ward was landing to the body, and the work he did do to that body affected Kovalev over the course of the fight. It caught up with him. But it wasn't like he was ripping him up in there and like tearing him up, and people have told me he's got a glass body. Well, I didn't see that, but Ward was doing good work in there, and it did have an effect. But, yeah, you know, I was worried that Kovalev might be able to get really, really hurt to the body, but I didn't see that.
No, I didn't see that either. But that's about it from me regarding this fight, unless you guys want to add anything else.
Yeah, I want to add something just real quick. I want to put a RIP on a particular narrative that, oh my God, Kovalev was so huge in there. He was so huge. Both Kovalev and Ward both refused the fight night weigh-in. Kovalev has ranged anywhere from 181 pounds on fight night versus Salak to 189 pounds versus Pascal. And Andre Ward was 186 pounds versus Sullivan Barrera. And he definitely was bigger in there against Kovalev than he was against Barrera. So at most, I'd say that the weight difference between them was maybe 3 or 4 pounds.
Yeah, but I don't know how to say it. Just his whole shape, like his arms looked much longer than Ward. He looked taller than Ward. He just looked bigger than him.
Well, I mean that's frame though. There's no such thing as a height class or a frame class. It's a weight class.
That's what I'm saying. Like in terms of his frame, just so I think. I wouldn't say the clinching was excessive, but Ward was spoiling, and plenty of times Ward was trying to use his head, and Kovalev got him in at least like 8 or 9 headlocks. Like, because Ward would come in with his head, and Kovalev just thought, headlock him and try and reset the action. But I don't know, man. Ward was just being negative, spoiling tactics at times, and it was, especially in the middle rounds. I think Ward started to clean up his act towards the end of the fight, but in the middle rounds, some of it was just disgusting, man. It was just literally for like 2 minutes they're wrestling, they're holding each other and stuff, and then you've got a minute of action to decide who wins the round. Bullshit, man.
Yeah.
All right, is that it? Should we move on?
No, can I just quickly say that on a bigger level, my disappointment is that this is now the number one guy. I just don't like the guy on any level, and I just hope he doesn't fuck up this opportunity he's got to be a top guy, because I think he fucking will, because he's a fucking weirdo and he might fuck this up. So he should take this fucking fight.
You mean in terms of stardom?
Just now he's got this opportunity to be big. He should take the rematch straight away, not fucking hang around, because that's how you're going to make the most opportunity of it. I don't want to hear, fucking 8-9 months down the road. This needs to happen very soon. But we know he's a weirdo. He's got a fucking history of being weird in deals. He's got a fucking god complex. He's just fucking guy believes in Jesus. I don't want to hear that shit. So I mean, that's
church discount.
That's my major issue. I think we have, let's say, different view on spiritualism, and so I'm just not interested in being the main guy. And
when God is with you, no man can stand against you.
And I'm happy that I was very upset that he won, and I own that. I don't give a shit. All those people celebrating Ward's victory, fuck you, man.
Yo, did you not speak about the judges?
Yeah.
No. Well, I'll
Well, you
get to
did
that.
break. You
American
didn't go into any
judges.
detail, but
Yeah. We touched on it a little bit. Go ahead, though.
That's terrible, man. 3 American judges, like
That to me, that's hubris on Kathy Duva's part.
yeah,
You know,
they should
because
have
I've
that sorted
been
out.
saying for months and months, a lot of people that didn't like Ward were talking about like, oh, Ward's not any kind of draw. Pff, look at what he. I've been saying it for years that Ward's had a huge fan base in the Bay Area and Oakland and such, and that his ratings, especially before his layoff, were very impressive. Very fucking impressive. The only guy that really eclipsed his ratings on HBO recently was Golovkin, and that's primarily by being active. Ward's inactivity is really what hurt him there. So, like, people acting like he wasn't a big draw to begin with. Yeah, I mean, he's not like a Floyd Mayweather level like crossover draw, but insofar as boxing star wise, I mean, he's every bit as big or bigger than Hopkins was when he fought Pavlik and Tarver. So. I mean, to me, it's like her thinking that like, oh, well, he's not any kind of draw. Like, people aren't really gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. The crowd is gonna be going ape shit for him the way that they actually wound up becoming. So, I mean, this big a mistake on her part.
No, yeah, it is a terrible mistake. I mean, could you imagine an American coming to the UK and 3 British judges doing the scoring? I mean, you can't. I know Kovalev is based in America and he fights in America and that, but still, you gotta have at least, if you're gonna have an American judge, you gotta have at least 1 and then 2 others from elsewhere. I mean, to have 3 American, I'm not saying that they got it wrong because I scored it the same way as them, but I just find it a coincidence that all 3 of them happen to have the same 140, 113. Like, I don't know, it just seems too much of a coincidence that.
Yeah, for everybody in the chat, Ward did over 1.1 million for Barrera, and he did over 1.3 million for Chad Dawson. So there you go. Night.
Yeah, well, obviously Ward's a draw. He's got Dub Nation behind him.
You mean Rock Nation?
Nah, Dub Nation, man.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why I hope he capitalizes on this opportunity and makes sure that he rematches Kovalev and they put together a fair package, because Ward is the archetypal fucking. He's a kind of. He needs a dance part, doesn't he? He needs someone to lead him. Like, you're always excited about who he's fighting.
You didn't hear what he said after the fight? They asked him about the rematch. He said, "Yeah, but I'm not gonna negotiate a fight right now. I'm too smart for that." What on earth does that mean?
It means I'm gonna fuck you.
At
least the good thing with I think Kovalev would go to Oakland, so.
Well, I mean, it means my head is a little bit rattled. I'm all excited and everything. I don't want to say anything that's gonna get held against me later, the way that Chad Dawson did, for instance.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a paranoid dude, man. He's a paranoid dude.
I think, me, I don't like talking business or boxing and all this bullshit, but I can see like Ward like negotiating his way out of this rematch. Like, I can see him making it so hard for them to deal with him that they just fuck off. Because before the fight, I listened to an interview where basically they asked Ford a question, something along the lines of basically Floyd said something about how he shouldn't have taken this fight, and basically they're trying to make him lose and all that and all this, and you can tell that like now Ward, the fact that he won the fight, it's all gonna go to his head, and he's just gonna think, I mean, they put me in there to lose, like, what the fuck, like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, but then again, he had to take this fight because obviously Ward was in a difficult situation. He came from that long layoff and he had no leverage at all. Like, he couldn't. They probably just said to him, "We'll put you on HBO, but you got to fight Kovalev." And then he had to take that because
they made the same deal with Kovalev too because of how the Adonis Stevenson fight got fucking drowned. So it's not like they weren't holding Kovalev's feet to the fire. All these people acting like people. Oh, HBO was so biased. That's why Max Kellerman was on his knees for Andre Ward the entire fight, right? That's why they have Andre Ward calling all these other fights, right? That's why Kovalev is never a commentator for jack shit, right?
Nah, but they were biased, man.
No, I mean, they were biased for
Kellerman
was definitely on Kovalev. I mean, on Ward's side, and Lampley was definitely on Kovalev's side. But, that's how you get balance. You have two guys at least disagreeing with each other. Kellerman was really bad with regard to Ward though, really bad.
And that guy, who's the guy that does the scorecard for HBO? His scorecard was terrible.
Letterman.
Yeah.
Yeah, his scorecard. And Fat Dan. I mean, Fat Dan's a fucking fat mess, man.
Dan Raphael isn't even to be taken serious at all.
He's a fucking fat mess, man. I mean, they had like Kovalev like 8-2 up like after 10 rounds or something, didn't they? Like they had something ridiculous.
Yeah. And the thing is, Jones was on Ward's side to a degree, but I thought he was a lot more tempered than Kellerman was. He was a lot more fair to me.
What I found funny was that shot of Ward when he got the decision of him like just acting so surprised.
Yeah, and then he put on the act like, oh no, I wasn't surprised at all, Max. This is what great fighters do. Great fighters, they adjust to opponents, and they like, fuck out of here, man. Such a phony. I haven't seen that level of fakeness for a long time, man. That's Floyd Mayweather. I don't watch boxing level of phony.
Do you know what that was? Honestly, shall I tell you what that looked like? That looked like a guy that just won the lottery. Like that, the way his facial expression just changed when he got the. It's like he won £1 million or something. He won $5-10 million.
That looked like Donald Trump on the stage after giving his speech, like saying like, "Oh shit, like I did it."
That was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw that shit.
But he's always with this narrative. Like he came out after and said, "Oh, he didn't hurt me at any point in the fight. I didn't feel his power." It's just like there's something so dishonest about him. Just show us something real. Just say, yeah, it was a good fight and that guy hurt me and I'm over the fucking moon. I won. But it's also kind of coy and calculated his responses after the fight. It's just like you can't. I don't know how. I think he's a difficult fucking character to like, and and as you can see, I don't like him. But some people do. But I mean, that's fucking on them, man.
Andre Ward's for the shit, man. He goes on like, I want to thank God and all this. You're not no God-fearing person.
Well, I mean, generally speaking, I like Ward. I just don't like all the whining that he's done for the past few years with God. Like, why doesn't everybody just bow down and hail me as this great star? Like, but he basically wants to be like Floyd Mayweather without putting the promotional work in to be like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather got in your face, made sure everybody knew who he was, regardless of whether you liked him or not. Ward hasn't done that. He just gets the victories and expects people to bow the fuck down and kiss the ring. Unfortunately, it's not the way it works.
Yeah, fucking gob complex weirdo.
All right, let's move on. We burned an hour on Ward Kovalev. We've got a lot of fights to discuss, and next week as well. Crazy schedule for next week.
Yeah, and speaking of the judges, that just as a preamble before we get into the other fights, the judges were jack shit. They were fucking garbage the entire night.
Yep, especially in the Maurice Hooker Darley's Perez fight, but we'll get to that. Let's talk about Gvozdyk and Chilemba. Leon, you go first.
Leon? Yeah, I just watched that fight today. It was a fight of two halves, wasn't it? Like Chilemba was doing well, and then that guy he was like out of range quite a lot, so he was throwing punches and missing, wasn't he? And but he managed to get on the inside as get closer and started landing as the fight went on, and he did well. I mean, I don't know, I didn't see how he hurt his shoulder, but that's obviously the reason they're giving for stopping the fight. But in that, we just saw the two best guys. Then that guy's not going to bother them, is he? At the moment.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I don't know about that, man. I mean, go ahead, Cam.
I was going to say after the first two rounds, I thought, maybe Gvozdyk team have stepped him up a bit too quickly, because Chilemba I thought had a very good first two. He was making Gvozdyk miss, and he was returning with his jab and moving, and I thought, here's another fight where a guy's just gone too quick. But he managed to slowly started to pin Chilemba down on the ropes and letting off his combinations. And when Gvozdyk is throwing in spurts and in combinations, it looks very good. And I was surprised, how easily he started to get into Chilemba. I don't know which round he hurt his hand, or if he did hurt his hand, or if it was an arm injury.
They were saying that it was his elbow.
His elbow, okay. On BoxRec they have it as hand, so I'm not sure. But obviously that is going to affect you a lot. But yeah, Gvozdyk, for him to start putting it on Chilemba after the third and fourth onwards, yeah, he really impressed me. I think they need to slow the roll a bit though, because as what Leon was saying now, who's really above him? Someone in the chat, in the Mixler chat, was just saying like Bivol versus Gvozdyk would be a good fight. I think that would be an excellent fight, to be honest. And then whoever wins that gets a shot at the champ. Something like that would be good. But what's your thoughts, Naoto?
Yeah, man, Gvozdyk really impressed me. I mean, considering the fact that he was able to basically outdo Kovalev against Chilemba was very impressive. Impressive hand speed. He had that little like hook off the jab that Mikey Garcia used to throw, or that Robert Garcia used to throw. Obviously he's retired. Mikey's still active. But I mean, just the impressive hand speed, impressive combinations. Did a good job. And just the fact that, like, we don't know if it was, was it his shoulder? Was it his elbow? Was it his hand? To me, Chilemba bottled it. He packed it in and decided to save it for another day because Gvozdyk was whooping his ass. That's all there was to it. Gvozdyk was fucking him up. It looked like he pretty much shattered his nose in, like, the rounds leading up to where Chilemba finally packed it in. Chilemba was giving him trouble early. I was thinking, like, oh, man, I thought Chilemba was going to win the fight. I thought this was too big of a step up for Gvozdyk, but I mean he proved me wrong and he looked really good. I think he's ready for just about anybody in that division. Anybody, like I think he's better than Bivol. I think he's better than Shabransky. I think that his overall skill set is just really good. Good stamina, good hand speed, good combinations, good timing. The hooks off the jab were brilliant. The way that he was able to double, triple up the jab was really good stuff. He went to the body fairly well as well. Just a good fighter. I think the RBGA is gonna get back into it with a guy like him, and possibly Cuellar too. But I mean, I think he's ready for just about anybody in that division. The way that he looked against Chilemba was impressive to me. He definitely looked more impressive against Chilemba than Kovalev did against Chilemba, or that Ward did against Herrera and Brand. So I mean, I think he's very much ready for the next level whenever they step him up. Of course, Ward and Kovalev are going to be busy with each other in the near future, most likely, and then Stevenson's doing his thing, whatever that happens to be, in-house PVC or what have you. So I think Gvozdyk takes care of business against just about anybody else.
But he did take his time to get going. He struggled early on, I thought.
No,
It's Chilemba, though, man. Everyone struggles against Chilemba.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. Chilemba's an awkward, difficult guy to fight, and I mean, just the fact that he was able to put it on him.
Exactly.
Huh?
Who beats Isaac Chilemba?
Yeah. Who stops him?
Exactly. But
he was beat up. He was beat up in that 9th round, wasn't he? Yeah, you're right. He was landing on him clean in those latter
Can I just
rounds.
make a quick comparison, right, between two prospects in similar weight classes of similar levels, right? Alexander Gvozdyk and Callum Smith, right? And think about the difference in opposition that they've faced, and think about who Gvozdyk's fought and who Callum Mundo Smith has fought and is fighting, and think about the difference in progression, right? This just goes to show, we say, British boxing, the home, and this and that. Fucking bullshit. They fight bums their whole career. They'll step up and they'll get beaten. Whereas Gvozdyk, fair enough, he may lose when he steps up to Kovalev or Ward, but he's gone in with the correct preparation. Whereas Callum Mundo Smith's just going to fucking smash out Luke Blackledge in a round, which Rocky Fielding's already done. And I mean, what's the point? It's just bullshit.
Yo, guys, isn't
That's
it
a complete
great
tangent. I do apologise, but just the point.
No, I was just saying, isn't it great having someone who's got the Russian name pronunciations on point?
Yeah, it's an improvement.
Yeah, because we fuck them all up, so it's great having Christoph on. But yeah, sorry to cut you off there, Christoph. But I was just saying to Beast Mode in the chat earlier that Jody Solomon, who I praised so much when Chilemba fought Kovalev early in the year in Russia, with her corner work and some of the advice she was giving him, she was in the corner along with Roy Jones, and just as Chilemba's like, nah, I don't want it, and Roy Jones should stop the fight. He was like, yeah. And Jody Sullivan's like, are you serious? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's like, oh shit, you're getting outed by your female fucking manager, man. What's going on?
She was disappointed in him, wasn't she?
She was pissed.
Chilemba looked absolutely glassed, to quote Ari Gold Boss. Like, literally, I turned the TV on. I set an alarm. I overslept a bit. I turned the TV on, and the first thing I see is Chilemba literally just saying, yeah, call it off. It's literally the first thing I saw of the night.
Yeah, but Christoph, just going back to you and your point about, Callum Smith and Gvozdyk, just how highly do you rate this guy?
Not that highly. Honestly, I think he'll get found out at the very top level. I think he's a very good contender. I think he's got a lot of good fundamentals. He's a big guy for the weight. But, I know Naota said he'll beat Bivol. I think he will beat Bivol as well. I don't think Bivol's that great, unfortunately. I do think he's a good contender, but, I just think Ward and Kovalev are miles and miles ahead of anyone else. And until anyone proves different. I know he's had a good performance against Chilemba, but, I think Kovalev and Ward both prove that, they're going to be very, very difficult to beat. And I think they proved that on Saturday.
Hammad, I'm saying it right now. I think Stevenson beats Ward.
You think Stevenson beats Ward?
Come on, bro.
Seriously?
Yeah. Boxing skills have improved, and that power is not like Kovalev's. He'll put you to sleep.
I don't know. Stevenson's been fighting bum after bum, and then I don't know. See,
well, he's been dominant, whereas Ward and Kovalev were struggling.
He went life and death with Fonfara. He nearly got knocked out by Fonfara, who Joe Smith did in a round.
He didn't get knocked out by him.
No, I'm just taken aback by your statement.
And Joe Smith almost got knocked out by Fonfara too, as well.
I don't know how you would pick Stevenson over Ward at the moment.
His boxing skills have improved. He showed a good inside game his last two fights. The outside game is still solid. He still looks like he's pretty much in his physical prime, athletically, agility wise, and he's got monster power, monster one shot kill power.
I don't know.
Andre Ward's best win before Kovalev was thought to be Chad Dawson by a lot of people, and he drilled Dawson in the round.
Look, all you need to know about Stevenson is he used to pimp out underage girls. He's a fucking scumbag. I hope someone stabs him in the neck.
Shit. All right. Hammad, did you see the Gvozdyk fight?
No, I didn't see this fight. But Matt Christie from I don't know what
Boxing Monthly.
He put an excellent tweet. He said Roy Jones being in
Chilemba's corner.
Chilemba's corner is like Maradona coaching Tony Adams. Yeah. Roy Jones is a joke of a trainer, man. Fucking hell. Why do people even go to him? All he does is make them play his fucking songs when they're coming out to the ring.
But who's he even coached, really? Like,
Jean Pascal.
Pascal and Jesse Vargas.
Jesse Vargas. You know what it is, though? I think Barry Jones made a great point numerous times. Is sometimes when you were so naturally good as a boxer, you don't really become a great trainer, because a lot of stuff that you did was instinct and it was just natural skill, something that you just developed yourself, where you can't pass that on in training. It's like the guy's either got it or he hasn't. And I think when you're a big name in the boxing game, you've been a big boxer and you've had many great fights and a great career, even though he's kind of he's stayed on too long. I think it's natural where people think, oh, you should go into training. It's the natural kind of development, but I don't think it's for everyone, especially guys that were naturally gifted. I don't think they should go into training.
Yeah, guys that break all the rules instead of following.
His style of fighting, you can't really teach someone how to fight like that. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah. So
plus, it's like that in football as well. They say like the best football players are not the best managers. So it's quite similar. I mean, like you said, a lot of what Roy Jones did in his fighting and his style was all instinctive and reflex based, and a lot of physical attributes involved. And if most I'd say probably 95% of people don't have that kind of athleticism and stuff like that. So it'll be difficult for Roy
Yeah,
to
I mean, I could just picture Roy Jones, teaching somebody in training. Okay, what you want to do is you want to put both your hands behind your back and move your head from side to side, and throw the left. Just doing something completely out of the ordinary. Like Roy Jones just did stuff. He broke the rules. He ran the red lights. He turned his car into a boat and drove through the lake. He wasn't a guy that was like just a technically brilliant boxer in the very fine, very super fine technical aspects that you have to watch very, very closely for a guy to be doing. He was the guy that made the big movements, the sweeping movements, the flashy movements, and that's something that you can't really teach a guy. Somebody has to really be naturally imbued with those abilities in order for them to actually have those fully fleshed out. So it's like Roy would do very well for that particular style of fighter, but outside of that style of fighter, I don't think he'll have the same replication of success.
And if you see with Roy as well, it's like if he had those things you were talking about, he would have aged gracefully like a Hopkins and like a Mayweather. He wouldn't have been going on, like his career wouldn't have went down the drain so fast. You get what I'm trying to say? Because
fell off
once
the cliff.
that athleticism and that went, that's pretty much his career down the drain. Basically, he was getting iced by fucking Tarver and the likes where
Macronelli.
Because when you have both your hands
but
down
I'm
like
talking about
when you have both your hands down like that, there's like a split-second opportunity for you to get out the way, and if you can't match that, then good night.
Didn't he say on HBO, like they asked him why he pulled Chilemba out, and he said, you know me, I'm always safety first, apart from when it's me fighting.
He doesn't mind dying himself.
Ben Johnson fucking knocked him out.
He's a weird. He's another weird guy, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, let's move on because we got loads still to talk about. Maurice Hooker versus Dallas Perez, man, that was disgusting. Okay, one judge did give it to Perez in a decent score, but I don't know, was it Adelaide Bird that give it 97-93, and then was it Feldman that give it a draw?
Robert Hoyle, man. He was the one that done the McDonald scoring last week. 118-110 to McDonald.
Yeah, that was fucking terrible too. And I think this card was every bit, like, to me this fight was every bit as bad of a robbery as well, maybe not every bit as bad of a robbery as Solis McDonald, because at least Perez didn't get a fucking loss on his record. He got a draw, but this was clear. Like, to me, the entire card was like, oh, the judges are completely in the bag for the A side. Completely in the bag for the A side. Maurice Hooker was a Rock Nation prospect, undefeated, and he still has a 0 in spite of the fact that he got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped and he got a boxing lesson in the process. Perez was making that ridiculous height and reach advantage. He had, like 4 inches on him? Looked like it wasn't shit. Looked like it was just easy to box a taller guy, when it really should be a lot more difficult than that. I guess they saw Perez get, washed by Krolla in that second fight and just thought, oh, this is going to be easy work for our guy and he's going to get a nice name on his resume. Didn't turn out that way. Perez schooled that kid, and he deserved the victory. I mean, at the very least, he didn't get the loss though. So a draw probably won't harm his near future prospects as much as a loss would have. And I'm sure. And like the fact is, it was basically like a catchweight fight, above lightweight, where Hooker's probably gonna continue his career at 140 pounds. Perez is probably gonna go back to 135. So it was almost like they were picking on an older, smaller, aged, worn out guy, to try and get a victory, and they got a big surprise. Perez did the job, and he fucked him up. That's all pretty much you could say to it. He controlled the entire fight.
That was a different Perez that I saw against Krolla, though. Like, the Krolla one was very safety first, everything behind the jab, and this Perez was excellent. I thought his aggression was good, his combination punches was good. Hooker he wasn't putting punches together, man. He was just those single jabs and nothing really behind it, and disgusting fucking decision. But like you said, Neo, at least Perez didn't get a loss, and he can kind of move on and try and get back in the frame for maybe a title shot. Like, with that type of performance, him and Linares would be a good fight. I don't know who Perez is with though. Who's Perez promotionally with?
I could look it up.
No
Matchroom.
Eddie still got something
Options.
Options on him, exactly. Leon, your thoughts?
I haven't watched this one yet.
Don't watch it. You just end up breaking your TV. Throw your phone at it.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah.
Casual.
You can't talk.
But look, you know, robberies. It's like this weekend. You kind of need the robberies in this sport. Otherwise, what would you do? Like, I think I enjoyed the weekend, even though I was raging, having a meltdown, as much as a good win. There's something quite cathartic about those kind of big fights when they go against you. So you need robberies. Otherwise, we'd be fucking bored.
Christoph,
We would, though, wouldn't we? If we could moan about something.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the adrenaline of that rage because you feel like a loss has gone against you is quite addictive.
You don't mind because you didn't have a horse in the race, but if this was something that you liked, you'd be fucking raging.
You're just a masochist, Leon.
I just dislike Ward enough, but I could somehow, I still like Twitter was fucking amazing. It was so much fun on Sunday, even though it was just me being, Sorry, yeah. So robberies, yeah. I won't watch that then.
No, don't watch that.
Sorry.
Christoph, you see it?
No, I didn't. This was the fight right before the Kovalev Ward fight, wasn't it? I do remember it being on TV, I think, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it. Robert Hall's a disgusting referee, a disgusting ref, a disgusting judge, and that's my opinion, really.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to Curtis Stevens.
Yo, I watched it, man.
You didn't watch it, man.
I did.
No, you didn't.
He didn't watch it.
Hamada was watching Golden.
Hamada,
you watching the boxing, bro? You watching Golden State?
Cam, I messaged you straight after saying this is disgusting.
Go on then, break it down.
Perez won that fight, man. This hooker guy is garbage, man. The worst hooker I've ever seen.
Man, I haven't seen a hooker get beat that bad since Adonis Stevenson's pimping day. So that shit on Twitter too.
Yeah, man. He was trash. He didn't know what to do, man. Like, he has zero boxing IQ. That hooker guy. He didn't know how to use his advantage. He didn't know how to use his jab. He weren't throwing right. He was like, how can I say it? He was. I'll give you an analogy here. It was like he was having sex without a condom. Like, he wouldn't stick the right hand on him. Like, he kept pulling the right hand out. And I'm thinking to yourself, just like, put some authority in your punches. Like, he's not doing anything. He was terrible. Yeah, Perez Perez outboxed him, and Perez was actually putting that pressure on him as well, at times as well. And Paulie said in the commentary that he thinks the fix is in, and he was correct, man. Robert Hall he's in the pocket, man. Definitely. 100 times. He went to Monaco, done a fucking dodgy job. And then he's gone to Vegas and done a dodgy job the following week later.
Yeah, people need to check that dude's accounts.
Yeah, man. He's in the pocket, man. He definitely, without that, he's in the pocket, man. You just don't go and do that, man. He's a fucking mess. And that's deep, man, because Perez deserved the victory that could have opened some doors for him, but instead, obviously, he's probably just going to end up getting frozen out. You're right, Cam. It was a different Perez that we saw in the Crawler fight. I don't know if he's improved or he didn't show what he was really about. I'm not going to give Crawler any credit and say Crawler's actually good or anything like that. Fuck that. I'm not giving no Joe Gallagher guy credit like that.
Well, some of it's any given night. Maybe he just really didn't show up against Crawler in that second fight. He did in the first fight. And then,
I think he might have froze, in front of that Manchester crowd, though. You never know, innit? He probably froze in front of a Manchester crowd.
Yeah, because here against Hooker, he didn't look bothered in the slightest. He looked,
Plus, it was like up in weight as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, by a few pounds.
So yeah, he was probably dead at the weight. So yeah, Crawler gets no credit. He probably beat a guy that was dead at the weight.
Come on, man, give Crawler some credit, man. My Manchester brethren. All right,
I'm just trolling, man.
I know you are. Let's talk about Stevens. This is actually
got his ass whooped too.
Oh, did you have De La Rosa winning?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I thought the judges were all Team A side. I thought De La Rosa boxed the shit out of him. Go ahead, though, Cam. I just interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I had Stevens winning. I thought it was a closest fight, especially after he said he hurt his hand and he was only kind of throwing the counter right hand off De La Rosa's jab. De La Rosa was entertaining though. Like my wife was still up when she was when this fight was going on, and you know all the gesturing and all the he was trying to get into the mind of Stevens, man. All the kind of talking to him and fucking the faces he was making and shit, man. It was quite entertaining to watch. But I thought Stevens just nicked it, even though the latter rounds he didn't really do much. I think De La Rosa was coming on strong near the end, but I think there was that knockdown and Stevens did enough in the early half to kind of get the rounds under his belt. But it was a decent fight to watch. It was okay for the first fight on the card. I don't know, was it the first fight on the pay-per-view card? I think it was the first one we got over here.
It was the first fight on
Yeah,
the pay-per-view.
but yeah, Stevens, he's one of those guys. He get matched well against a decent opposition. Like I think him and Lemieux would be a good fight. He's always fun to watch. He's got that equalizer power where even if he's losing, like Toriano Johnson, he can come back and get a stoppage. So I always like watching Stevens. He's just against a boxer, he can get outboxed.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to cut off the ring. He's kind of like Canelo in that way, really. Like, he's a big puncher, good on the inside and that mid-range, but on the outside, if you can move around a bit, you're gonna give him all types of trouble. And that's really where De La Rosa, I thought, shined, and how I thought that he won the fight, and how most people, I think, thought that he won the fight from what I saw on Twitter anyway. He was able to keep distance on him. Whenever Stevens got close and when De La Rosa kind of got trapped on the ropes is where Stevens had his best work. But to me, pretty much after that knockdown, Stevens wasn't trapping him enough, and De La Rosa was able to, do enough of a stick and move around him and just put that jab on him, put those combinations behind the jab on him enough that I thought that he clearly controlled the entire back half of the fight, and to me should have got the decision. He definitely thought that he won. He was looking like mad excited, that he was going to get a victory under his belt. I thought that Stevens was going to sleep him the way that Centeno did, but, he just wasn't able to find that timing in order to ratchet off that hook the way that Centeno ratcheted off that left cross. And, I just thought it was a shame for De La Rosa because, he's definitely a guy that doesn't have very much recourse because, he's a guy that just recently got slept and showed that he can be extremely difficult against Angulo, who he spoiled, and against Stevens, who he damn near spoiled. Should have got the decision, in spoiling, made him look really bad. But maybe the fact that he made Stevens look as bad as he did may entice Alvarez's team to actually take that fight with Stevens, which is a fight that I've personally been wanting for a minute now. I want to see Alvarez's chin tested at the very highest level, and even if Stevens isn't necessarily the greatest boxer in the world, is an elite level boxer, he's an elite level puncher, period, point blank. He bounces guys' heads off the canvas when he lands, and I want to see Alvarez's chin tested. I want to see him physically tested because I think that most of the guys at 154 and 160 can't really match Alvarez in terms of skill. I definitely think that they can match him in terms of physicality. Stevens can anyway. So that's the fight that I want to see. Lemieux to me gets washed. He gets destroyed. Too open, and his defense is just fucking hot garbage, and he'll get laid out by the first left hook that Stevens lands on.
Naoto, like you said, we were both expecting De La Rosa's head to bounce off the canvas, especially after that Centennial Junior loss. But what do you think? Yeah. Do you think Stevens just didn't get any clean shots on him? Because he did hit him quite a few times, pretty clean, and he took the punch as well. Do you think it was a bad night against Centennial?
Well, yeah, I think it might have been. The thing is, even against Centennial, he bloodied Centennial's nose before Centennial managed to knock him out. He was having good success against him, and that shot that Centennial hit him with, it was kind of funny because, he normally boxes orthodox. He switched southpaw for that brief moment and then hit him with that left cross. So I just think that De La Rosa just didn't see the punch coming. That was all there was to it. Because, he had shown a fairly solid chin against Angulo, too. Angulo ratcheted off a few good shots against him and wobbled him, but he didn't outright put him to sleep. But it just showed that just because you get one punch KO'd against one guy doesn't mean your jaw is completely shattered forever. And Stevens against Teixeira, I thought showed incredible power and a good setup for that power. But I think it was just a matter of making it so that Stevens couldn't completely plant his feet and get full leverage on those shots as to why he didn't completely fold. He kept Stevens moving and didn't allow him to get that full, like plant his feet and then ratchet off that shot like almost like a home run hitter, like a Danny Garcia likes to do, for instance. He just didn't give him that leverage, that timing and that leverage to ratchet off full power on under his shot. So, he took a lot of the power out of it, rolled with it, and just did a good job of keeping him at the proper range.
Yep. Anyone else? Leon, do you see this? No. All right. Quickly before we move on, go to the UK.
Did any of you guys see the Claressa Shields bout?
That's what I was going to say. Just that Claressa Shields debut on the undercard. I don't know, Nato. I seen her box a lot better in the Olympics. That was the first time I saw her in the Olympics. I never saw her before that. And I don't know if it was she was just a bit too overeager. Such a big debut fight to have, really. Undercard of a super fight. Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. She just seemed like she's just a bit wild. Just big on the backhand looping shots. It's just, I know I would like to see a bit more composed, but I guess debut does shit get to when it's such on such a big stage.
Yeah, I mean it was a fun fight to watch. I mean I definitely think that as entertaining as it was, she might be able to get a spot on one of these undercards, like Showtime Extreme level, or pay-per-view undercards. Actually get on the pay-per-view portion in the near future. I definitely I was saying it in the midst of the Olympics and afterwards as well, that I think she could be built up sort of as like the pinnacle of female boxing in terms of the way that like Christy Martin, ESA John, and Layla Ali were, at least a minor star. And in spite of the fact that she did have a little bit more struggle against Cruz than I expected her to. Although Cruz is legitimately a bigger person as well. She fought at light heavyweight, whereas Shields plied her trade at super middleweight in the AMs. So, she was fighting a pretty strong girl herself. But, somebody that she had beat in the amateurs, of course, before. But, of course, the amateurs is a little bit different than the pros, especially, too. Because the females actually still wear the headgear, as we mentioned before when we were covering the Olympics. Whereas in the pros, they don't. But, I mean, it was a fun fight. And even though her style kind of broke down, she got a little bit wild. I think, incidentally, in the long run, that'll probably help her in terms of actually getting attention. Because a lot of people just expect, females to not really be able to fight and for it to be like not that great. But I mean, as long as they're providing action, even if it's not necessarily at the highest level, which I think that Shields is legitimately capable of, boxing at a fairly good level compared to most female fighters boxing or otherwise. I think that she could draw some eyes and make some good money in the pro game, which I felt like that she could. And, I mean, she did a solid job, in spite of the fact that she probably had a little bit of cold feet, a little bit of jitters, and she worked those jitters out by throwing a hell of a lot of punches and making a fun, action-packed fight. But she got the victory, so that's what matters in the most.
Yep. She can always improve. Leon, let's go to London, Wembley Arena. Not too far from your old neck of the woods. George goes back. I don't know, we kind of got divided opinion because you weren't really impressed with the performance, and I thought it was quite decent.
I just thought he was still quite scrappy. He didn't seem as fluid as he used to be, and like I just feel like he used to set a lot more traps and let people come to him. He was jumping in more than usual, and I just didn't think it wasn't flowing for him. And I thought maybe his power had diminished, but maybe it's just, unfortunately, that guy had a ridiculous chin, because he got beaten up as it went on. I said he looked like a soulless fighter after about 4 or 5 rounds, didn't I?
Yeah.
But I think he improved through the fight, but I still don't see him beating anyone, unfortunately. Like the top guys at the moment in that division.
Take the top guys out. If what they are talking about, maybe Chudinov. Could you see him beating Chudinov?
I could see him beating Chudinov, yeah. But
Fedor,
that's mainly because I don't think much of Chudinov.
You don't really rate Fedor Chudinov that highly?
I don't know. He's quite basic, isn't he? And old Groves would have been able to might have got rid of him. But that guy's got a ridiculous chin as well. So I don't know. I just don't trust him in the big fights. I think we've seen that, haven't we?
Yep. Nah. I agree with most of it. I just think, his backhand was working well, man. Like, Gutknecht was getting hit so often and so clean with the backhand. His jab is on point. Like, Groves does have a really good jab. His footwork seemed to improve a little bit, especially after some of those camps that he had with Paddy, where his kind of footwork went to shit. But yeah, I think him and Fedor Chudinov is kind of maybe a 50-50 fight. Fedor, like you say, he is quite basic. He is kind of just like left hook, right hand, left hook, and he kind of steady plodding forward. But I think that would probably be like a 50-50 fight. It's just a shame what happened with Gutknecht with the injury afterwards. Is that he suffered a brain bleed, and he's kind of in intensive care at the moment. And Chemo was saying to me today on Twitter that this is a mismatch, and this is like Blackwell versus Eubank, and it's a fight what shouldn't be sanctioned. But I disagree with him. I think this is like two European level guys fighting each other. Like, Gutknecht is not a guy that's not fought anyone before. He fought Bramer twice. He's fought other good opposition in the past, so it wasn't a big mismatch on paper. I just think maybe his corner, after his eyes started to close, or the referee could have thought, well, he's not seeing these right hands now, so let's just stop the fight.
And I just don't think that's a fair comparison, the Blackwell Eubank thing, because Blackwell just come off a good win where he stopped a guy who hadn't been stopped before, who was at that same level. So to say that it was an out-and-out mismatch, I just don't think that's true.
No, I don't think that was a mismatch either. On paper, that was a good fight because we all know that Blackwell's got such a really good gas tank on him and an engine that if he could have got Eubank Jr. To expel a lot of energy in the first half, he could have had success in the second half. So yeah, I don't really think that was a good comparison from Chemo anyway. Even though I love you, Chemo.
And is there something to be said? The reason these fights have gone on longer because the other guy was being competitive, but then it slowly went on. They both kind of got worn down, and that's where the damage gets done, isn't it? When you're getting tired, but you're not getting knocked out clean, you're just getting hit and hit and hit.
Exactly.
And I was only being critical of, just to backpedal a little bit, I was only being critical of Groves in the beginning of the fight. I think it took him time to find his rhythm, and he got into a reasonably good place. But that Groves that nearly knocked out Froch, it's gone, man.
Yeah, he's not the same guy, is he?
No, he's not. I don't think we're ever going to get back there either.
No. But just with Gutknecht, man, we wish him all the best. We hope he makes a full recovery.
Of course.
But Neil, to independent kind of review from you, what was your thoughts on the fight?
I thought Groves looked pretty good. Fairly solid. Gutknecht definitely gave him some trouble. But I mean, Groves definitely showed that he was still a level above that level of fighter. But yeah, no, it's a shame to hear about what happened with Gutknecht. I mean, it was a trip to see him get dashed up like that, for the whole fight, and and to see what happened to him afterwards. But that's what happens in the sport sometimes, and it's fights like that where fighters legitimately get hurt. Where they're just taking that prolonged beat down, where they either have too good of a chin, or the other fighter doesn't have enough of the power in order to completely put him away. In this case, I think it was more his good chin that kind of let him down, just overall in terms of survivability, and actual survivability, not in-ring survivability. But Groves did a good job though, and I still think that at the higher level, he could definitely still compete with some of the better fighters. He hasn't completely gotten washed outside of his fights with Carl Froch, and even then, he was winning those fights. I thought up until he was knocked out. So we haven't seen the last of Rose, I don't think.
Yep. Quickly on undercard, Andrew Selby looking like a beast again against this Filipino who was trained by his brother, and his brother didn't mind seeing his brother getting beat down, which is quite funny, I thought. But
Borneo.
Yeah, Borneo. Yeah,
they got Andrew Selby looking like a puncher in there, man.
Selby looking like a beast. I don't know, man. It's hard. You can only really rate Selby until he fights someone high level, because everything just seems so easy for him. Like everyone he's fought so far, like I don't think he's even lost a round, and he's not even looked bad in the round. His seamless transition from southpaw to orthodox, his combinations punching,
but where are
his body punching.
Where are they going to get these learning fights for him?
They should have him fight Charlie Edwards and gauge him.
No, but that won't happen for a bit. So he's going to need some good guys to go in with. But where does he go? Mexico or
probably
Asia,
Colombia, Thailand, Japan.
Yeah,
that's where Lee Haskins is going. He's going on to Japan on New Year's. So,
but maybe the question I'm asking now is there those good journeymen to give him rounds at that level? Are they available, those fights, for him to be tested without being in danger? If you know what I mean.
They are. It's really just about finding the right matchup. A lot of the times people misjudge just how good or bad certain fighters are at the lowest weight classes. So it can be dangerous.
That's what I mean.
It can definitely be dangerous, but they exist.
There's guys with lots of losses down there who are real, real good. So you've got to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think he's ready for, the top level. I mean, as the Edwards versus Casimiro fight showed, they thought that, they were bringing over Casimiro to just grab a belt. And that didn't happen.
I'll be interested. I'm looking forward to that Yafai fight versus, what's his name? Concepcion, is it?
Concepcion. Yeah. That's a solid. That's
we'll come
a good,
to that. That's a good fight.
Yeah, puncher versus puncher. That's going to be impressive.
That real good. We'll come to that when it's around, though. But that's a good fight.
Yep.
And could that be a fight down the line? I guess Yafai. Are they in the same weight division now, or they one apart?
Selby's one down. Selby's at flyweight, and
but he's big though. He's big for that weight, isn't he, Selby?
Exactly. Yeah. So he'll probably move up before too long.
So there's another fight. There are some fights there for him, actually.
Yeah. Especially over here, yeah. Just with the undercard, the main card was Groves and Gutknecht and Selby and Borneo on Channel 5. But before that, on Spike TV, we had some of the undercard. The German Ronnie Mittag versus Conrad Cummings, which was strange.
That was fun.
It was fun, but who did you have winning?
I didn't score that, man.
I didn't score it, but I would have just think Cummings pipped it. But I was really surprised when
that guy's face was smashed up as well.
He looked like he hit by a train, man. Mittag did, but yeah, Mittag won it by a split. I was surprised. I was amazed how kind of sharply honest Barry McGuigan was.
He was brutal, man.
Yeah, man. He was like.
I liked it though.
I liked it as well. It was. He could have made loads of excuses for him, but he was just speaking the truth.
Well, you say you can't. What was he saying? Like, you can turn up in the gym. It means nothing. Everyone says you're great in the gym, and if you don't turn up in the night, who cares? That's pretty much what he was saying, wasn't he?
Yeah, but we've talked about Cummings before, and I wasn't too impressed with him. He didn't start this fight off well. I was really impressed how Mittag kind of started off just with his jab. He was working the jab really well, and then throwing combinations after he had Cummings pinned against the ropes. But he started to slow down a bit, and Cummings is very upright, man. He hasn't got that much head movement, but I thought he started to come into the fight, and he started to put the pressure on Mittag, and I don't know, man. It was a shame that he didn't get a win, but there you go. Honesty from Barry was amazing, though. And there was a fun fight, I think it was a British title eliminator.
Yeah, that was real good.
Temuka Mucha versus Paddy Gallagher. I think the judges got that right. I had Mucha nicking that one.
Yeah, I liked him. He looked good.
He did. He hasn't
But
got
don't
much
you think-
power, but he's got good movement and good combination punching.
And he committed to his punches.
Yeah, he did.
But I think that it's quite interesting that on that card there was a lot of Cyclone guys versus Xanagar guys, wasn't there?
Yeah, I
And
guess
I like that. I like that because it means that they're putting their best guys against each other at whatever level it is. They're still going right. They were 50-50 fights.
Have you noticed though, like the Channel 5 matchmaking has been really good as well?
Yeah. Because I think it's because it's two rival
Stables.
two camps working together and just going let's make the best fights we can, even if it's lower level guys.
Put
But
your
let's
best
put them in
welterweight
fights.
against my best welterweight and see what happens.
And if they carry on like that, people will watch it.
Yep. Like, have you read anything
But-
about any type of figures that
No.
Channel 5 card got?
No, I haven't read anything like that. I think, and just going back to Selby, that's why they need to get Selby some slightly better guys over, because if he can be in good fights as well, they could get something working there, couldn't they?
Yep. Really decent card. I enjoyed that Channel 5 and Spike card.
And they've delivered they've had that's their second card, and they've both been good.
Yep. Is it second or third? I think they've had one before that, didn't they?
Was there one before?
Yeah, wasn't
Josh Taylor?
Wasn't Hoskins? Didn't have a Haskins card.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that wasn't that.
He's going to Japan though, isn't he? New Year's Eve.
Getting shipped out. Yeah, probably getting good money though, isn't it? So.
But it's good, it's good to see.
No,
Taking your belt on tour.
That's what.
It's rare. It's rare to see a British fighter travel, especially out there.
It's rare to see us travel once we've got a belt. We'll travel to try and get a belt, but if we get it,
that's what I mean.
we ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Home advantage
of
all
the
the way.
big money that you guys bring over there. So
Yeah.
Japan was able to match that at least at bantamweight anyway. So
Yeah, in
interesting
that
to see.
division.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that guy good? I can't remember. I don't know much about him.
He's pretty good. He's a pretty good fighter. I'd still favor Haskins to win, but I mean, based off of his last couple outings, I think that there's definitely some things to be taken advantage of there. So I'd give Mori a good chance.
So do you think that's kind of why he's got good money for not the best guy? So there's less.
Yeah.
He sees it as more of the opportunity to make money than.
Yeah, it's
potentially
not.
lose.
He's not fighting a Tomoki Kameda or a Yamanaka or anybody. So yeah.
So take the money. He's trying to take the money and run.
Yep.
Fair play to him.
All right, let's move on. I know Howard Zay's trying to ring in, but I'm just trying to get the rest of the weekend out of the way before we probably go back to Kovalev Ward, because I know he was in Vegas. So Marco Huck versus Dmitro Kucha was on Box Nation. I don't know. It was an okay fight. Huck won it quite convincingly. I had the same card as Barry Jones. I just give 2 rounds to Kucha. I think this is the third and the fourth. Huck was just doing the little slick shit he always does, man. He'll just throw like a 1-2, kind of do a partial clinch, a right hook to the body, and a kind of right hook to the head / to the back of the head. And he was kind of getting one for that because a lot of his punches were going around the back. But he just knows how to do enough to win, man. Like his output is not the same as it used to be. Like he used to throw a lot more punches before. He's got that high guard. He'll kind of walk you down a bit, throw your combinations, and then do nothing for a minute, and then again try and throw some more combinations towards the last 30 seconds just to kind of catch the judge's eyes. It's just a classic kind of Huck fight, to be honest. Kucha just didn't have the snap in his punches. He was kind of plodding forward. His jab was decent at times, but he wasn't putting punches together. And Huck, when Huck would throw his little spurts, they had like venom behind them. They had weight behind them, where Kucha, when he did try and throw combinations, they didn't seem to have the same snap in him.
He didn't commit to his punching, Cam.
No.
And you're right, it's too many single shots.
Yeah. And he was just plodding forward. He didn't seem to have like, okay, I'll try this now to see if it works. He was just kind of doing the same thing round after round.
Yeah, didn't have He didn't have like that winner's mentality. He had like, oh, I'm pretty much here to lose. That he had that type of mentality, I think, going into it. And Huck just kind of took advantage of that. Even though Huck isn't as good as he's been in the past. I mean, he's definitely on the downslide. He has enough skill to be a guy of that level. So, I think it's going to be like at least the very B plus to A level fighters that beat Huck at this moment.
And let's be honest,
anybody below that, he'll still be able to outbox him.
Let's be honest, that guy was just a Euro level guy, wasn't he? Really,
yeah.
He wasn't a world guy, or he was on the cusp of it, right?
Fringe.
This is his come out. This is his opportunity, and so it's a good win, but it's nothing to get too. He's not suddenly become a danger again, Huck, in that division.
No, and that division is pretty deep as well, man. Like, if you look at the top guys, I can't really see Huck beating, especially
Lebedev beats him, Usyk beats him. Fuck it, Bellew probably beats him.
Dordikos beats him.
Yeah.
He's still fun to watch, though. I still like watching Huck.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Him versus Vladarchik would be a pretty good fight.
And look, we thought
Thomas.
a lot of us thought he was toast and he was done, but so he's still got something to offer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like if any of those top guys wanted to fight him next, it's a good fight for them to take because you can make money.
Yeah.
He's a big enough name. He'll be competitive, but you could be the guy to stop. You could stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think him and like Bradis would be a good fight, depending on what's happening with Bradis and Tony Bellew.
Oh yeah. I'd watch. Yeah, he's still a useful guy.
Yeah, still a lot of good fights out for him. Quickly, Neil, to Cano versus Herrera. I was watching a bit of it earlier. It wasn't a barnstormer fight, to be honest. Didn't really. I had it on one screen while I was doing something else on another screen. But you got any thoughts on that fight?
Well, I mean, it was a pretty ugly fight. Cano hit Herrera in the balls about 9 times or so. But in spite of that, it's just like Herrera just looked listless in there. He looked like he really didn't have a ton of energy. He still showed some of that old skill that we've known him to have. But watching him in there against Cano kind of reminds me of like James Toney at heavyweight after Holyfield, where it's like he was getting kind of, he would have showed like some of those glimpses of his former self, like against Sam Peter and John Ruiz. But even against guys that really just aren't on his level technically, he just kind of got bullied and busted up a little bit in there against Cano. And I think Cano with a close decision is a good score. In spite of the fact that he got the point deducted for the low blows. And honestly, I was thinking that he might even get disqualified, considering how many times he hit him low. But Cano got the job done. And actually, I thought Cano looked pretty good, too. I thought he looked a little bit more crafty than he tends to look. He is, in the past, he's tend to look a little bit robotic. And back when he fought Morales that first time, when they thought he was just going to be an easy win for him, that was back when he was only like 20 years old or something like that. I thought that he showed a lot of promise, for a young guy on the rise. He might be able to develop into something, really good. I think he didn't. He kind of floundered on that promise by and large against some of the other guys that he fought after that. Even though that he probably should have beat Malignaggi, he probably should have got that decision, and came up short against Shane Mosley. I do think that he did look pretty good. I'm not sure if him versus Alfonso Gomez or Yoshihiro Kamagai would be a next good fight for him. I mean, Gomez a bit more of a technical challenge. Kamagai obviously more of a physical challenge. But I think him against either of those guys maybe as a step up towards fighting maybe another like fringe contender level guy, and then potentially getting a title shot should he happen to win the next 2-3 fights. Maybe in the cards for him. It's definitely possible, especially considering how Frankie Gomez is kind of not capitalized off of his dominant win over Herrera. So Cano might be able to come through where Gomez has let it just kind of fall by the wayside.
Frankie Gomez just gone missing after that great win against Herrera, man.
Yeah, people don't legitimately. They don't like a lot of these people. They don't even know where he is. Like his trainer is like all those guys.
I know it's crazy.
He just disappears.
I know because I seen one day like Freddie said, "Oh, fucking Frankie came to the gym today." It's like shit. It's randomly turned up.
The first day in 2 months.
Exactly. All right, let's have a break quickly. Give props to the people in the chat. We have Kiwi Bill Josh, Mr. Fix, Neto 1725-1, Doe Masters, Tico, Kevlar, Steve Wellings, my boy. Naoto, you're in there obviously. Basileos, Jason 268, Nothing for Something, Mr. Dermo, Foot, Beast Mode, Court Music, African Shah, J Swede the A side, BRD Hate, Scores Fam, my boy. Mongo Sled and 23 guests. I'm gonna try and get Jose on the line. He'll probably give us some stories about Vegas,
The sexiness.
the sexy fights, the big fights. I think he's there again. This
The
upcoming
sexy
Saturday,
collars.
see Lomachenko in the flesh. But I know he's probably at work, so I don't know if he's going to be able to answer. If he doesn't, we'll just move on. Preview next week, I guess, because I don't really see that much headlines this week. Everything was kind of focused on Ward versus Kovalev. Did you guys see any big headlines, any big fights really announced this week?
Well, it looks like they found a replacement for Juan Diaz against Ray Beltran, which I thought was going to be a great fight. They're replacing him with Mason Menard, which is actually a solid replacement, really good replacement. Menard is a big puncher, so we're going to see like puncher versus puncher between those two. I think that's going to be a fun fight to watch on December 10th, which is a packed day of boxing.
Yep. You see anything, Leon?
Well, there's rumours on Twitter of Ortiz versus Dave Allen.
Fucking hell.
I mean, that is a mental fight. I mean, if he can take shots, like he took some shots against Dillian White. I mean, I know Ortiz looked a bit funny against Malik Scott, but at no point is Allen going to be able to move like Scott did. So
exactly, Allen's
he's
going
to be right there to be hit, man.
Yep.
He could get hurt, man.
I was going to say that could be ugly, man. That could be like injury shit.
It's too much. It's too big a gap.
But that's Hearn again thinking, oh well.
He's a character.
Ortiz looked shit against Thingy, so we need to get like a highlight reel knockout now. So who can we bring in to get starched out?
Yeah, who's the punching bag?
Yep.
If it's true, it's not definitely true. But if that's true, that's fucking some more cynical matchmaking.
I totally agree, Leon. Unfortunately, I totally agree.
But that's what we've come to expect. But this we're lucky. We've had a great matchup this weekend, and we're getting another good one. This coming up with this Lomachenko Walters fight. Because I think I don't know. Are we waiting for Jose still, or should we talk?
No, he didn't pick up. Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah. I just think there's questions of both these fighters, but I think it's, for a year it's been so bad, we've got to be happy about this fight. I think there's still questions about Walters, and I don't know if he's the right style of fighter to trouble Lomachenko in this fight. He might trouble him, but I don't think he's the guy to beat him. Because I think you got to have a bit more of a Slido in you.
You have to be tricky. You have to have like a tricky unorthodoxness too.
And you got to be coming forward and trying to get him to move backwards. You got to be a pressure fighter, and with Walters is a boxer puncher, isn't he? I mean, that jab's good, but
yeah,
let's see if he can get off.
Well, he does utilize distance very well. I mean, that's definitely something you could say for him.
But he's against a guy who moves very well, and he moves, and he's not moving away from you. He moves laterally, doesn't he? So if you can't get there and get your punches off quick enough, he's gone, isn't he?
Leon, Africa Shah just said in the chat, I'm more excited for Loma Walters than I was for Ward Kova, and I'm totally the same, even though I think Lomas should win quite convincingly. I'm really looking forward to it because I think, Walters still does have that knockout power where he can maybe do something. I don't think he will, but I'm just
honestly,
really
I wouldn't be surprised if this fight looked a lot like Ward versus Kovalev, to be honest with you.
Don't say that. I want it to be better than it.
Well, I'm just talking about in terms of like how the tides shift and everything. Because I could see Walters dropping Lomachenko. I could see, or at least hurting him early, and then Lomachenko having to dig back in later. Because I think that Walters' power and reach is going to be a difficult thing for Lomachenko. He's going to have to really be on his P's and Q's as he tries to close the distance, as he tries to negotiate that distance. Lomachenko, I think, is just a little bit quicker on his feet and with his hands, but I think that Walters' timing and distance and judgment of distance is good enough that he'll be able to negate a lot of that. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to conditioning.
We have to question. There is one point to be made on that power thing: is that who is he knocked out? Who hasn't been a little guy coming up?
That's a fair argument. Obviously, Daenerys and fucking what's his name?
I mean, he definitely rock Mariaga a few times. Mariaga has a good chin.
That's true.
Did he at any point hurt Sosa? I can't really remember that fight.
No, I can't really. He didn't. He did very little in that Sosa fight.
I mean, I thought like momentarily, but at the same time, Sosa has a good chin, man. I mean, he took some hellacious shots from Fortuna. Fortuna's a legit bomber.
But what do you think? I mean, how do you see Walters winning this fight if he does win it?
Only by stoppage.
Well, I mean, I could see him. Well, not even just by stoppage. I think that he could. I think that potentially he could do a lot of what Kovalev did, and just being able to hit hard enough to give Lomachenko enough pause that Lomachenko somewhat freezes a little bit, the same way that he did in the Salido fight, where he just he did a lot of clinching, especially early on, and wasn't really active, didn't really have a high enough output in order to really win the early rounds, especially. That's why I'm thinking that a lot of it might come down to conditioning. I think that Walters does some of the subtle things a little bit better than a lot of people think as well. He's a bit more of a textbook orthodox type of fighter, but I think he does some of the subtleties better than most people do. He's not completely textbook. He can do a little bit of the improvising on the fly as well. But that said, I think it's going to wind up with Walters probably maybe slightly deserving the decision, but Lomachenko actually getting it.
Where do you think?
I think that's how the fight's going to end up.
Where do you guys think Loma's going to fight the majority of the fight? Because I think he's going to have to be more on the inside just to kind of negate the length of Walters and to keep him off that kind of end of that power. Because if he fights him at mid to long range, I think it's going to favour Walters, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's got to kind of try and get centre of the ring and go, and try and draw him in.
Yeah,
because if he lets Walters to stand at long distance throwing punches, he's got to get
long jab, long right hand. It's gonna be troublesome. So yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those cases where it's like he's gonna have to ratchet off a couple of shots on the inside and then immediately grab hold of Walters before Walters can respond.
Or spin off
and really just try to dictate.
Because he's good enough to get there, isn't he? He's got good enough movement to get on the inside, and he gets there quite quickly. So it would make sense.
Yeah, kind of get in and then do your work, and then get out, and then try and do the same again.
Get in, clinch him, break your own clinch, hit him as you're breaking your own clinch. Something like that. I think that is something that Lomachenko could definitely pull off.
Do a Marco Huck.
He's become more of a body puncher as as his fights have gone on. He'll go to that body early.
That definitely paid his dividends. Should he do it?
And I think he's started to do that more, because I know you're not the biggest fan of him, but I've definitely seen his willingness to move away from his amateur style that he first entered the game with. I think he's got more of a pro style.
Sitting down on his punches a bit more.
Yeah, this is his 9th fight now, 9th, 10th fight.
It is his 8th fight.
You'd be more than if you had a boxer and then he's 8. What was he? He's in like his 8th, 9th, 10th fight. You'd be more than happy with the progress, wouldn't you?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he would be. But so he just comes with that baggage, doesn't he?
What's concerning me about Walters though is his inactivity as well. He hasn't fought since December. So, Lomo's
that could be troublesome, especially considering how chubby he looked recently. I saw a picture of him looking kind of fat, looking a little Kell Brookish.
There's there's a little bit of a cash out about it, isn't there? From him.
It does have a hint of that, to be honest. Even though he's still got his undefeated record, it does seem like he's just taking it for the money, to be honest.
And take the big fight to get out because he wants out, doesn't he?
Does he want out though?
Well,
I
think that he might have had to sign an extension.
Oh, really?
To get this fight, yeah.
Do you think he's going to bring that big axe to the ring again?
I hope so. I like that axe.
Yeah, it's a cool little gimmick that he's got. That's like some WWE type shit. Come out with the axe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna chop you down.
And the other good thing about this is I don't mind who wins because I don't think it's about Actually, if Walters wins, we might get more from it because we're more likely to get the rematch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
And who were the other champions in this weight class again? What is this?
You got Jezreel.
Superfly, is it, or Fly? No,
Super Feather.
Super Feather, yeah.
Super Feather.
You got
Francisco Vargas for the WBC, Jezreel Corrales for the WBA Super since he knocked out Uchiyama. They're rematching on
Jose Pedraza for IBF, and
it's a good division, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Matter of fact, even like some of the non-champions could potentially upset the odds too.
Just while we talk about Pedraza, sorry to interrupt you, Naruto. He's fighting is it Gervonta Davis?
Yeah.
It's a big step.
Yeah.
Good fight.
Big step
Good
up
fight.
for Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time, Pedraza is a guy that it seems like it's really killing him to make 130. This might be the right place, right time for Davis to capitalize.
Yeah.
Especially considering how much Pedraza kind of struggled with a puncher in Edner Cherry. I think that Davis provides the type of pressure that a fighter like Pedraza doesn't really like. So, if Davis is well conditioned enough, I could see him taking it. I could see him putting it on Pedraza.
Yep. And just overall, the main event's amazing, but the undercard's trash, man. I don't recognize any name apart from Donovan George. And that's that's not a great name to recognize, to be honest. No disrespect, Donovan.
Well, and that's the thing. I think the egregious Kavaliauskas fight versus Juan Ruiz is a pretty. In spite of the fact that neither guy are really well known, it's two undefeated prospects facing off against each other, 15-0 versus 17-0. So, those are the type of fights we like to see. Definitely, who better to have your, kind of a major stage kind of debut against than a fellow prospect in order to really show off what you got. And then Ponomarev is the dude that that's supposed to be in line for Errol Spence if Brooke winds up dropping that IBF belt. So. I'm sure he's just waiting on exactly what the IBF decides with regard to that, and if Brooke ever decides to go back to 147 and actually fight Spence.
Yeah. You guys got anything else on this Loma Walters fight?
I'm just saying that whoever wins, they can fight another champion almost straight away, can't they? Potentially.
Yes and no.
With Heyman,
because
Vargas is on HBO, isn't he?
No. Vargas is a Golden Boy fighter.
Golden Boy, yeah, sorry, yeah.
So they can do that.
Yeah. Or Corrales if Corrales beats you, or if Uchiyama beats Corrales too, because neither of them are with anybody west side, Heyman or Golden Boy, or anybody like that. So they're open for it too.
No more tune-up fight for this lot.
Yeah. Well, and especially because Miguel Burchell is still waiting on his shot too, because they had to pay him step-aside money. Lomachenko's team did in order to fight Roman Martinez, because Martinez was supposed to fight Burchell before he ever fought Lomachenko, and then he pulled out of the fight with 1 week to go. So he's still waiting on his opportunity, and he's a knockout artist too. So that's not an easy fight.
Naota, we were talking about Jason Sosa last week. Did you say he was with Samson?
Yeah, Samson boxing.
So if he doesn't have a rematch with Steve Sosa or Fortuna, that'd be good with Lomachenko.
Yeah. That's the thing. The thing is, Samson is kind of tied in with PBC to a degree, but not entirely. I think he has his own thing. He can kind of go where he wants. Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say before?
Well, no, that was pretty much it. Just Burchelt is a tough opponent. So, him versus the winner. Or I'm not sure if you guys noticed who the number one contender for the WBO is.
No.
My boy
Turtsak.
My boy Turtsak, yes.
Yes.
Turtsak the God.
Just to say that name again is great.
Yeah, man. There's no easy fight with that dude. So, even if probably most of the champions should be favored to beat him, it's not gonna be easy. You're gonna know you were in a fight, not a boxing match.
You're
but a
gonna
fight.
earn your money that night.
Yeah, big time.
All right. Just predictions. Both of you picking Lomachenko.
I'm picking Lomachenko in a close-ish fight.
Yeah, I got Lomachenko by a close decision where I think Walters could have easily gotten it as well.
I'm picking Loma by like landslide, almost like 10-2 or something like that. I don't know why.
I could see them both getting dropped.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, I can see it too.
You think Loma might drop Walters?
Yeah, I think he could drop Walters.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Donaire landed on him, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I think Lomachenko
quicker
could. I think he could catch him at a funky angle where Walters doesn't have his feet planted.
As he pivots out or something,
Walters,
he's always moving, isn't he?
Walters does.
He's close to you.
Walters does have a massive long stance as well. Like his legs are very wide apart. Like
That's what I'm saying. It's almost like Jesse Vargas versus Pacquiao. It's like he threw that jab, but his foot was up in the air when Pacquiao countered him. So perfect shot at the perfect time.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. All right. Let's move on. British boxing, loads of cards. This upcoming week. I'll just start with probably the best one. It was the one that fell apart in October, but it's got Billy Joe Saunders versus Arthur Akakov. Don't know how to pronounce the name. Naoto would probably know. Liam Williams versus Amit Patterson, which is a good fight. Terry Flanagan versus Orlando Cruz, which I don't really think is a good fight, but Flanagan looked like arse last time. Tommy Langford.
I bet Hammad does.
Tommy Langford versus Sam Sheedy. I think that's be a decent scrap for the British middleweight title. Tom Stoker versus Craig Evans. They're fighting for the third time after they both had draws had draws in the previous two fights. Not a bad card overall, Leon, I guess.
No, I mean, I've been a fan of Liam Williams for a long time, so I've watched all his fights since. Was it when did he fight on the undercard in that Bramer versus when the eye blew up?
Macronelli. Yeah.
He was on that card. That's when I first saw him, I think. And I've watched every one of his fights since, and I think he's really good. And this is a good fight, but I think it's a winnable fight for him. I would favour him.
I ain't gonna lie, I haven't really seen much of Amit Patterson, to be honest.
I've seen bits and pieces. It's difficult when you watch some of those Warren cards. Fighters get lost in them, don't they? Because there's like 15 fights.
So many, yeah.
But I'm sure I've seen him. But I fancy Liam Williams at British level and European level against almost anyone in that division.
Would you pick him over Liam Smith?
Yeah, I would. Fuck it, yeah.
That's a good fight, though. If that fight happens next year,
that'd be a great fight.
In one of these like BT Sports fights on that both channels pick up, man, that'd be a fucking great fight.
That's an obvious fight, but can you get Joe Gallagher fighter to not fight in a meaningful fight that's not a world title? It's not their MO, is it?
It's not usually, but I think now that the war chest has more money in it, I think if the Smith team, especially, I think, I don't know how...
You could build that, couldn't you?
Yeah, I don't know how mentalities are, but like I could see Smith being very grateful to Warren to get him that shot against Canelo. Even though he got his ass beat, he got a good paycheck. He would have got a good sponsoring deal from Alessi. They would have probably offered him like 50p, 60p, something like that. So I guess he could be kind of grateful to Warren and think, you know what, I will take on Liam Williams, as a thank you to you for hooking me up against Canelo. So maybe that's not how they think. Maybe it is. Who knows?
But I think you could goad Liam Smith into it. He seems the most hot-headed of them.
Especially the way he reacts on Twitter sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, I think you could goad him into it. But saying that, there is that Buglioni versus Jose Burton fight, and I guess that's kind of that on a slightly lower level, isn't it?
where like a Gallagher fight is fighting in a big fight without a kind of
a big issue, a British level kind of fight, against another guy that's kind of reasonably well known.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah.
Billy Joe, I mean, who's this guy he's fighting?
I don't know, but he does look like Wolverine in the picture that they've put on the Box Nation promotion. He does look like Wolverine from X-Men, so maybe he's got like spikes that come out of his hands.
I hope so.
Maybe he has that mutant healing.
Yep. He's
but let's be honest, it kind of doesn't matter, we just want Billy Joe to fight a meaningful fight, so I'd rather he kept the belt. But, I mean...
I got a feeling like he'll pull out like 3 days ahead of time and say he's got an injury, but really he's not made weight or some shit. I don't know. Billy Joe, I don't trust him, man. He seems like a fat bastard that just doesn't like to lose weight.
It's a kind of, I don't care. Like, I'm much more looking forward to the Williams fight. I just don't care about Billy Joe at the moment.
Yeah, until he's in a minute.
Because I know he's good. Because I know he's good enough to beat this guy.
Yeah.
Look at the guy's record. He'll beat him.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, if it's not a competitive fight, why bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just quickly, Terry Flanagan and Lando Cruz. Like, I've seen Cruz in the past. He's not that good, to be honest. But Flanagan,
no, he's not that good.
Flanagan does run hot and cold sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, Cruz can be kind of difficult. He's a fairly slick fighter. Pretty good movement. But I don't think it really works at the top level. It works against guys that are kind of fringe. And even what was it, about 1 or 2 fights ago, he was fighting on Onima's card that I actually thought he probably should have lost. He wound up getting the decision, and so yeah, I can't see him really having very much for Turbo Terry. So I'm sure Hammad will be very happy with the outcome next week.
Yep. Yeah. Let's move on. And I said this is a big fight. Big weekend, because this is on a Saturday evening here in the UK, and then Sunday morning we got Lomachenko because Box Nation have got the rights for that. And then on the Friday, Box Nation have a tiny card in Essex, Brentwood Centre. It's one of those, just basically like a leisure centre or some shit like that, or just like a gym that's been converted into a boxing arena for one night. But yeah, Bradley Skeet's on there against John Thane, defending his British welterweight title. Lee Markham versus Andrew Robinson, which I think will be a good fight. Both former oppositions of Frank Buglioni. Boy Jones Jr., your favourite fighter, Naota, against Martin Hillman. Anthony Yarde, who I've seen a few times that I've been impressed with. Sanjeev Sehota, I've seen a few times. It's basically Warren's younger guys that he's kind of just getting them out there with the fights, to be honest. Most of the undercard consists of, yeah. But my main issue, Leon, I want some salt please, is with a matchroom card on the Saturday in Wembley Arena, and I can't figure out who the headline fight is. I'm thinking it's Ahara Davis, but why is Ahara Davis headlining a Sky? My biggest issue, Leon, is this. Remember when Fight Pass came out and they said we'll be streaming fights, live cards of some of the younger pool of talent. This is a fight that should be on Saturday night on Sky Sports, while this card shouldn't be on there.
Well, Fight Pass was a Ponzi scheme, so yeah. I'm not surprised it's not on there, because that's one of the most egregious lies that he's told. I mean, that's beyond belief, really. Why that's got to be investigated. Has there even been a fight on Fight Pass?
I think there were a few, but let's break it down. So you got Ahara Davis, who's a gun up-and-coming prospect. He's facing Andrea Scarpa, who beat John Wayne Hibbert. I think it was this year, in summer.
Yeah, so that's not
a bad fight. That's not a bad fight.
That's a 5 o'clocker, isn't it?
Yeah.
A 5, 6 o'clocker. on one of your big AJ cards.
Yeah, that's for your big
AJ card.
You know what that is? Fight. That's they have that 1 hour preview that you can watch a fight before they get encrypted. Before the fight gets encrypted and you have to pay 18 quid. That's the fight you get for free. But
But it is. I mean, it's a bit of a step down. I mean, whatever we say about like watching a Josh Warrington fight, at least it's like they're exciting and the arenas are full and it's there's some kind of spectacle and there's people turning out. I mean, it's a big step down to this, isn't it?
yeah, and I guess to be fair, like the main fight was going to be John Wayne Hibbert versus Tommy Coyle, but even that's not a great headline fight. And then Coyle pulled out.
Oh yeah, because Tommy Coyle really moves the needle in northwest London.
Exactly, but then Coyle pulled out, and now it's Martin Gethin. And then the only really other notable fight really is Katie Taylor's debut. But come on, man,
Isn't Kell Brook's worst nightmare fighting on this card?
he is indeed, man. Carson Jones fighting someone called
Yeah.
Ben Hall. Who the hell is Ben Hall?
Well, there's supposedly big things about big punching Ben Hall, but I think I've only seen one fight. But he's one of those matchroom kids that everyone thinks might go somewhere.
You always hear the name Ted Cheeseman, right? In like IFL
I've never even
interviews.
seen what he looks like.
I don't even know who he is. You hear like Coogan and Eddie like talk about him, but I don't think he exists. He's just a name that's always on Boxrec on an undercard somewhere.
He's been like used to like the 415 fight on matchroom cards for the last year, hasn't he? He
Where
has though.
There's no one in the arena apart from the people working there.
Yeah. I think this is the first time he might have even been on TV. Oh, he might have been in a few fillers, like floating fights, but yeah, it's fucking piss poor, man.
It is.
But don't worry, because we got the right to pay to watch AJ fight soon, haven't we?
Yep.
And what else have they got another card coming up?
Matchroom.
Yeah. Is it just this? Is it this and then
I think it's just
the
this.
pay-per-view?
Yeah, because they had a really busy October, so as far as I know, I'm just going to quickly go to their website. As far as I know, they've not got anything between this and the pay-per-view.
So this is the last free TV. This is the last free card of the year on Sky.
Yep.
So this is perfect. This is your screen grab of boxing this year. That is the last free boxing we get on Sky. Is an O'Hara Davis fight.
It's not good, is it?
It's terrible, and let's just hope Warren can get it done with this money.
With this BT deal.
Yeah, let's hope he can do it, and he can get people like, because I've spoken about it before. Skeet's great win. It's kind of what's happened with that.
Nothing. Faded away.
Faded away, but now he's got the money. Let's see if because he might be able to get Eggington. He might be able to get some of these lower hanging matchroom fruit, and if he can start getting on a bit of a roll,
I was going to ask you that. Do you think
it could have an effect?
Do you think he'll be able to tempt over some of Matchroom's fighters to him or back to him?
Well, look. Ed, according to Eddie, he likes to get his boxers paid. That's the most important thing. And he doesn't have a big enough budget to put on fights unless they're pay-per-view. So if he's true to his word and he hasn't got big enough budget from Sky, he's got all these fighters, and Warren's offering him good money, he should do it. But I think we'll find at first his ego will stand in his way as usual.
Totally agree.
But if the money's there, if there is money there, the fighters, they're not going to stay quiet forever. Especially those lower level guys where, they might make 50 to 100 grand a year and someone's offering them 200.
Yeah, they're going to go.
They fucking want it, aren't they?
Yeah, of course.
So I hope he's got that money and he's clever, he's clever enough how he uses it. But, we'll see.
All right. Thank you, Leon. Let's go to my boy Daniel Lim, who's jumped on the line. Hopefully he's going to talk. Dan, are you there?
Yes, what's up?
How's it going, Daniel?
I'm okay. I'm a little sick, though, unfortunately, after a rough weekend.
That's sad to hear. Hope you get well soon, Daniel. But let's talk some boxing. Talk about your Vegas weekend, and your thoughts on the fight, Kovalev Ward.
Yeah, it was. Was that this past weekend? The Kovalev Ward fight?
Yeah, unless you slept the whole week from your illness.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, I did. Now I remember the fight. It was an ugly fight. I felt like, and you were right, Cam. It wasn't as pleasing as I hoped it would have been. And I wasn't scoring the fight like most people. When they're at the fight live, you tend not to score fights. And I just thought after the fight was over, I was just I didn't think much of it because I thought, to me, I was like, there's no way that Andre Ward won the fight. At best it was 6-6, and obviously with the knockdown in the second round, I felt that there was no way that Ward won the fight. But of course he did by a round, which I find it's just hard for me to fathom that. I mean, I do think the fight was fairly close, whatever other people may argue, but it was close in the sense that I thought Kovalev still clearly won the fight. I mean, I know boxing is a little bit peculiar in that there are so many swing rounds that can really change the variation in a person's scorecard, but nonetheless, again, I still feel like at best Ward won 6 rounds, and if you do give him 7 rounds, I don't know where that 7th round really comes from, but ultimately it was kind of it was less satisfying for me because I still thought I was going to see a very high level fight in terms of the skills, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case because from Ward's perspective, I think he's clearly deteriorated in this fight, and if you compare him to his run in the Super 6, he really doesn't use lateral movement that much anymore. In that fight, he was ultimately just walking back in straight lines when he was trying to defend, and when he was trying to attack, a lot of times he would initiate his offense like Sean Porter would. And when would you ever compare Andre Ward to Sean Porter? And the way he just lunged in and jumped in and tried to create offense. And now, granted, a lot of that I think was the fact that he was a lot smaller than Kovalev, and I'm not trying to make excuses for Ward, but when I was watching the fight, I was really surprised. It really looked like Ward was fighting somebody a full weight class above him. The size discrepancy was pretty startling. But nonetheless, you're right, Cam. He barely uses that right hand anymore, and I'm starting to believe now that it's because of his shoulder. A lot of people are giving Ward credit for his body attack, and I really didn't see that too much. But, when he did try to throw it to the body with that right hand, it was pretty laughable sometimes, the right hook that he would throw to the body, because there was just no oomph. There was no pizzazz behind any of those shots. But I think more so if I'm disappointed in anyone, it's Kovalev, because I feel like Kovalev could have absolutely molested Ward. After that second round, I felt like maybe Ward wasn't there for the taking per se, but Kovalev was just so nonchalant in his attack afterwards. And even though he won the majority of the rounds after the second round, he gassed in the second half of the fight. And I don't know if it's because of, some of the holding tactics, or whether he just had a bad camp, or whether his conditioning has just always been somewhat poor, but he should have beaten Ward pretty more clearly, in my opinion, because his defense was very, very leaky in this fight. And it was so funny because he opened up with that traditional Ward stance where he kind of throws an up jab. His body's very low to the ground, and yet the left side of his face is entirely open to a jab. And Kovalev still didn't really fully take advantage of that, after the knockdown. And, he did gas towards the later half of that fight. And I was curious as to why he was just so complacent. I mean, it seemed like he knew beforehand that the 3 judges were all from the United States. So with that being said, why not put an ass whooping? It's your pay-per-view debut, and you have this guy who's a glorified, quote-unquote, pound-for-pound level guy, and yet he's there for the taking. And it just seemed like he was just kind of complacent, fighting in second gear towards the second half of that fight. So it was interesting. I mean, I do want to see a rematch, but am I excited for the actual fight itself? Probably not. I just want Kovalev to, knock Andre Ward out next time, hopefully, so that we don't have to kind of be marred by this controversy moving forward. But ultimately, yeah, I'm just hoping Kovalev has a better preparation and has a better game plan for that fight, because I have also been hearing rumors that Kovalev does tend to have just kind of shoddy training camps. I've heard that he kind of sets his own schedule a lot of times. He doesn't really do necessarily what JDJ wants him to do, and he kind of has that Chavez Jr. symptom, like not obviously to that degree where he's half naked eating Cheerios, but just in that he does seem to set the schedule on his own sometimes. So, I really do hope that he's just fully prepared and we get this fight ASAP, because I want to see the results, as soon as possible, because I think the longer you wait this out, the more advantage it goes into Ward's corner.
Naoto, I think it was Naoto saying earlier, could you see him going in different directions? Could you see Ward stalling and somehow getting out of it? I think it was Christopher said it, sorry. But or do you see the immediate rematch?
I mean, how are we supposed to know? Like, we would have to be like contract negotiation experts, right?
Yeah,
to
true.
know that type of shit. I mean, I don't want to play that role again, because
Dan, we are. We
are. Okay.
Yeah,
all
we
right.
are.
Well, yeah,
It's
I
fine.
spoke with Kathy Duva and James Prince the other day. James Prince, the guy who said that Russians always lose to Americans in big fights. And they told me that this fight is absolutely next in February. So, but yeah, ultimately, I don't know.
First.
I don't know. I mean, who the fuck is Ward going to fight if it's not Kovalev rematch? Is it going to be Stevenson? I mean, that's the only fight. If it's not Stevenson, even then, like, I'm not saying that him fighting Stevenson would be justifiable, but that's the only one that I would even fucking consider. If it's not Stevenson, I don't want to see him fight anyone else. But
I wanted to be honest, I said it earlier, it's the only fight I want for both of them is this rematch. I'm not interested in them fighting anyone else next.
Like, what'd you guys think? Because I literally just got up a couple of minutes ago, but do you guys think that Ward is still a pound-for-pound level fighter? Like, did he look impressive to you guys on Saturday?
He did very well to come back into the fight, and he, he's obviously a skilled guy, isn't he? And he won the fight in a lot of people's eyes. So he's. I mean, the pound-for-pound list is just I don't care about, but but in that fight, he was in that fight with a good guy.
Yes.
They're both good guys. So, I mean, that's as much as praise you give to both of them, isn't it? They tested each other, and they're both really good.
Well, then, Liam, were you disappointed with Kovalev at all?
I was disappointed with his second half, yeah, but I still think he did enough to win it. But then I didn't think that Ward looked great in at least the first four round. I think Kovalev could have applied more pressure. I think he let him off.
Then I guess my follow-up question, Leon, is that do you think the reason why Kovalev didn't look as good maybe towards the second half was because of Ward's adjustments or because of him tiring?
The fairest thing you can say is it's got to be it's a combination of the two. But I think Ward wasn't doing nothing in there. He was doing stuff, and he was throwing stuff to the body. And even though it probably didn't fold him in half at any point, it was obviously having some effect.
Cumulative, I'd say.
The thing is, like, for me, I didn't watch the fight in enough detail to really, like, study what adjustments Ward made. So I'm not saying either way whether he made them or whether he didn't. But one thing that I did notice is that I always, like, the word adjustments, it seems like that word the people love to throw that word around when they apply it to quote unquote, like skilled African-American fighters like Floyd Mayweather and Andre Ward. And like when I asked people what were those adjustments, like I never really got a straight answer. They just said he made adjustments. I'm like, what were those adjustments? And they didn't answer it. And for me, I think leading up to the fight, I told myself, like, look, if Ward has a great fight, like he's kind of close to that Floyd Mayweather level. And this to me just kind of showed, like, I think Floyd is clearly just levels above, but that's neither here nor there. I
said that earlier as well, and I hate saying it, but it's true.
Yeah, it did, because I know that's not fair to Ward because he fights in a completely different weight class, and that 7 pounds is a huge difference. But I don't like. I left that fight saying, like, wow, like the skill level discrepancy between Floyd and Ward is so starkly large, because it seems like what Ward was able to outclass guys with was not to that athletic kind of like bedazzlement that Floyd utilized in his younger days, when he just completely outclassed guys just because of his skills and his athletic prowess and his hand speed and things like that. So Yeah, but nonetheless, yeah, I'm just kind of trying to understand what those adjustments were, because to me, I just think it was more of Kovalev gassing towards the later half of that fight.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, if
and-
anything,
and
I'd say
ability
the
to
primary adjustment. I'd say the primary adjustment would be the Ward not hesitating as much, just letting his hands go a bit more. Pretty much is where I could say that he made an adjustment. You know, a couple of short steps back and then a good jab coming forward.
Yeah.
But even then, he was still getting countered. He was still getting countered by Kovalev shots as well when he did that. You know, and going to your argument about sorry, Leon, about
Sorry.
you know, pound for pound. To me, both of them showed way too many flaws for either of them to be number one. They're definitely still up there, but too many flaws from both for them to usurp where Gonzalez is at. You know, 4 weights and you know, nicked a close one against a bigger, faster, stronger guy in Quarters.
And you've got to give credit. You got to give credit to Ward for if now is right. I think he did start letting his hands go more in that second half of that fight, and so that is an adjustment. And then you've got to give him credit for that. And that does show balls that he didn't go into complete survival mode. He knew that he had to do something, and he stepped it up in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I give Andre full props for his toughness.
I'm not saying that Kovalev won clear. I just think he won clear enough for me. I think he won enough rounds that you couldn't give Ward more than 6 rounds.
Yep. And yeah, I give Ward full credit for his toughness, because after that second round, I thought that there was no way that he could come back, just based on the way the first 2 rounds went and just the advantages that Kovalev had. I mean, my God, the size difference was so apparent, and a lot of the shit that Ward tries to do, his bullying tactics, the way that he tries to manage range, that only works when you're roughly the same size as your opponent. You know, when your opponent is bigger, is rangier, his length is longer, and has kind of like a similar speed in the jab department, which I also found very surprising. Like, that shit isn't going to work.
Very good hand speed from Kovalev.
That shit is not going to work. So, yeah, it's a rematch that I definitely want to see, but, you know, the fight itself was entertaining, but it was entertaining more so in the sense that you kind of like, you understood that both guys were at a high level, and you knew that the fight was, I don't know, man. The fight was, I guess, close towards the end, but again, I wasn't really too bothered by it, to tell you the truth. Like, I wasn't really on my toes or anything. Like, I was gonna say on my knees for a second. I was like, why would I be on my knees? But I was.
That's a different story.
I wasn't
praying.
Really, yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe praying, but I wasn't really too nervous towards the end. I was like, yeah, all right, Kovalev won, good for him, and you know, and everyone, like, after the end, I was around a lot of Ward fans, and they were just like going absolutely ballistic, like, in joy. I'm like, dude, if I was a huge Ward fan or a huge fan of either, like, I wouldn't be that impressed, to tell you the truth. It's like, especially if you're a Ward fan, you know, that guy, he didn't look that good. You know, this was the biggest stage in his career, and he I mean, I don't even think he squeaked it out, but he didn't even look that good, and you guys are that excited about it.
I think they're that excited because they didn't actually think that he won. So when he did, when he got the decision, all of a sudden they were mentally going through their own, like, mental scorecard, saying, okay, I got to make sure I change that round to Ward, that round to Ward, that one to Ward. Yeah, he won. So now I have an argument.
Hey, I'm not going to begrudge people, you know, celebrating like that. They can celebrate like that as much as they like, but then I can be a complete and utter total arsehole in reply. So, you know, fair's fair, right?
Okay. All right. That's fair. But it's like, these events are always, it's always hard for me to process a couple of days afterwards, you know, like, I don't know what the right response is. And, it's always so weird. Like, I always do wonder, like, are these kind of fights, are they good for boxing or are they bad for boxing? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I thought the whole card, considering I thought that all 3 of the fights that went to the decision were garbage decisions. I thought that was kind of bad for boxing, in spite of the fact that I thought the action was pretty good. There was a lot of tension in there.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the Gvozdyk fight?
I thought Gvozdyk looked incredible.
Yeah. Yep. I've always rated Gvozdyk very, very highly. Even though he may not be the most entertaining factor, from a physical perspective, he is by far the most impressive guy at that weight class. And Cam, I know you're going to hate me saying this, but if you compare him to Bivol, like, Gvozdyk just has such the clear physical advantages, and he's just so much more technically polished that I could see him, ultimately reigning that weight class.
Really,
Yeah.
I tell you, he did look good in the latter rounds, but I didn't think he looked great getting started in those first four. I know it's Chilemba and he's always difficult, but
he's robotic.
He was missing a lot in those first 4 rounds.
I mean,
He's very robotic.
he started off robotic, but I thought he looked real fluid with those combinations once he got his hands moving. It's like once he got into
once he got
there was
going,
no stopping.
And no offense to his trainers, but he gets trained by guys who just recently became full-time trainers. At that Robert Garcia gym. Honestly, these guys are people that had, full-time gigs doing, I don't know, construction work or, helping
Garcia's
out
not hands-on with him.
At an educational program, or I don't know, just any kind of school or any kind of, trade. They were doing some brick and mortar job prior, and now they're full-time trainers, and you expect them to train world-class level fighters. I don't know. I don't know how comfortable I'm with that, but
to me, Garcia needs to be hands-on with that dude. Because, I mean, especially that hook off the jab, to me, that was classic Garcia level shit. Mikey did it. Rios used to do it. Mike Donna did it. And I thought Gvozdyk was doing it really well, too.
Yeah, but from a talent perspective, Gvozdyk is, you just look at it, or look at his physique, look at his size, and his combination punching is just beautiful, man. He's so fluid in the way that he throws combinations, but I do think he is kind of robotic in the sense that he doesn't really make that many technical adjustments with his feet per se. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move him forward because he's at that 11-12 fight range in his career, and obviously he's too young for guys like Kovalev and Stevenson, but maybe he can get there next year, after 3 or 4 more fights. But yeah, I felt like.
Well, I mean, I think just the promotional difficulties inherent with getting fights with those guys in the first place will give him enough time to develop anyway. So.
Yep, but yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it for me, Cam. I know the hooker robbery was bullshit. I was just startled. Just crazy.
Yeah. We talked extensively about that. Perez whooped his ass.
Fuck that. It's just stupid, man. And then when you have that build up to the Kovalev Ward fight, it was kind of an ominous. Ominous transition from that to the main event. You kind of had that in the back of your mind. Wow, is this, potentially going to be the narrative for the next fight? So, obviously not to the same extent by any means, but but still, it was definitely in the back of my head.
Yeah, Lemon.
Did you see the other fights on the undercard? The Stevens or Shields?
I didn't. No, I heard Stevens. He was starting to get clipped, right?
Yeah, I thought that De La Rosa beat him and got robbed. I thought that he outboxed. I thought Steven started off really well, hurt him, dropped him early, but after that, De La Rosa made adjustments and started just boxing circles around him. In my opinion, I mean, I thought Stevens would occasionally land a good shot here and there, but he just didn't know how to cut off the ring.
And how'd Clarissa Shields do?
She looked actually not that great boxing skill wise, but it was a hell of a fight, man. She went out there and just went to war with her opponent from the opening bell. It was literally all 4 rounds was just action. They were just throwing fucking hammers at each other.
It was like two women having a fight outside of a club at 2 a.m. or something.
That's awesome, man.
Fighting over the baby daddy.
Fighting over what?
The baby daddy.
Baby daddy.
Baby daddy. Lim, how was the event overall? Ticket sales wise, was the T-Mobile Arena packed out? Was it half empty?
It was. I wouldn't say half empty, but it was probably 66.66666% empty, or 66.666% full. I mean that there were sections of the top bowl that were just completely just empty. Nobody was sitting there. And then the mid level, in the bowl area, the mid bowls, they were full for the most part, but there were still a lot of empty seats. And then on the floor level, it was quite strange. 1/4 of the entire floor section was just occupied entirely by the media. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's prime seating and that's all media? That's strange, but. It was okay. I mean, there were a lot of Ward fans, but it wasn't overwhelmingly, pro Ward. There were still a lot of Kovalev fans as well. But, I again, to me, the atmosphere was just riddled by the decision at the end and just how like these are the fights when you see just casuals, and they're so obvious because by the way that they react to a certain fight, and then their kind of like inability to like really like concede what the other opponent did and really acknowledge what like how the fight went like accordingly to like people like us who know a little bit more about the sport and who can kind of judge like where certain rounds went and how like the tide of the fight turned. Like it was just a very very annoying experience for me because these are guys just wearing their Jordan Andre Ward tees and like they're like SOG, and then adjustments. He made adjustments, and I asked what adjustments? Like adjustments. It was okay, but ultimately there were better fight cards for sure that I've been to.
Yeah.
Like these kind of fights, they're just too big they're too small, for the T-Mobile. The T-Mobile is like 20,000 seating, and like these fight cards, they're not suited for that card. There's just not enough fanfare for it. So it's still puzzling to me that why fights like these are continuously placed at the T-Mobile Arena.
Where do you think it should have been held?
At the Garden, at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, where tickets are a little bit cheaper, and the grand capacity or the max capacity is about 14,000 people. That's where it should be.
And how was it catching up with the boys?
It was good. It was a little difficult because I had to get there on Saturday just because, with work, and got there on Saturday afternoon and left Sunday morning. So it was noon. I did. You get that voice note, Cam, or that English girl that I met.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, it was fun. But me and we're definitely gonna go back to to Vegas this weekend for the Lomachenko fight, which I am definitely looking forward to because it's taking place at the theater at the Cosmopolitan, which has a capacity of about 4,000 people, and that's gonna be great because I love those small venue shows, and it's rare that you get a guy of Lomachenko and Walter's caliber headlining a small card like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
What's your thoughts? Like, how do you see it playing out?
I think Lomachenko is going to school him after like a really tentative first 2-3 rounds. I just think Walters is too heavy on that front foot. Even though he does have a very good jab, I think anybody who fights so much on the front foot and puts so much weight on the front foot like Walters does, I think it's going to have issues with Lomachenko's footwork.
Nice. I kind of said the same thing. I kind of copied you from a few weeks ago, to be honest. At first, I thought it might be more competitive, but the more I've thought about it, I just think, it might be like a 10-2 or something like that.
This is Lomachenko's 7th fight, right?
I think it's 8th, yeah.
8th. Just let that sink in.
I know. It's
awesome.
Great that someone's actually attempting stuff like this, man. Not like having 20 fights against nobodies and then finally steps up. But is Jose staying in Vegas for the week? Because he's flying. Has he flown back and he's flying back again?
I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea.
That'd be crazy if he kept flying back and forth, man.
Jose's a baller though, so it's nothing to him.
No, I'm just saying, like, the scheduling though, like, man, jet lag like a motherfucker. I would be.
Jose's not a human being, man. Jose's an animal.
Well, hey, he's probably got that Oscar De La Hoya special, right? Why not?
Of course. But any other topics that you guys discussed?
Not really. We just kind of ran down the rest of the fights that happen and upcoming weekend. But apart from that Lomachenko Walters fight in the States, there's a few cards in the UK, but they wouldn't really interest you, to be honest. But yeah, apart from that, nothing.
Cool.
Yeah, Leon and I think it's going to be a bit closer though between Lomachenko and Walters.
Okay. Did you jump on?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I talked to him yesterday, and he was surprisingly okay with kind of the decision. He also said that the fight was pretty close, but that if anyone, Kovalev won, but I thought he would be like kind of more up in arms about it, but I guess not. I do think a lot too. I think a lot of people who might have scored the fight a lot more decisively for Kovalev, I think they're now saying that the fight was closer than what it was to kind of, be more diplomatic. Like, do you guys get that sense at all?
Yeah, I do.
like the other way. Like, you know how you mentioned, Naoto, that people who just say that that Ward, or they were surprised that Ward won, like they'll like start kind of playing around or eking around with the rounds.
Yeah.
You know,
They
just
start
to justify
doing mental
their scorecards. It
gymnastics
kind
in
of goes,
order, yeah.
and it goes the other way around as well. Like I
Yeah.
see guys who were saying, "Oh, Kovalev fucking dominated his ass," and then afterwards they kind of say, "Oh, it was a lot closer."
They start to question themselves and then try to be more egalitarian about it.
Yep.
Nah, to me, Kovalev won that fight clearly 8-4. So that's all there was to it. You got to give Ward every close round, including ones that he doesn't deserve for him to get the victory.
But my problem is, it's like that's not just coming. That's not us saying that Ward did nothing. Do you know what I mean? People are thinking that me having it that wide is some kind of.
You didn't even have that
Slight-
wide. I mean, shit, you had it closer than I did.
Yeah, by 1 round. But they think it's a real slight on Ward. That's what, you know. I mean, that's the reaction I get is like, oh, somehow I'm attacking Ward. It's like, no, I just thought the other guy won.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes
saying
you
he
have a
got
fight
washed
where a
12-0.
fighter
There
dominates
was
the
some
entire 12 rounds, but it's a close fight, you know, or they win all the 12 rounds, but every round was close, but they just won them, you know?
I saw some Ward lunatics out there who only gave Kovalev 2 rounds. Now, is that worse than my reaction? Fuck off.
Yeah, if you gave Kovalev only 2 rounds, you need to go to an eye doctor, or like Leon would say, you just need to find the nearest bridge and just jump off.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way that.
What was
that's a
Malik-
That's my
legitimate
point.
scorecard.
That's what got me really pissed off was
Well,
that
well,
reaction of both Ward
people-
fans, man. It's like flow mode all over again.
Yeah, people exactly. People that scored it that way are straight up. They love Ward, and so they were looking to give him every single benefit of the doubt. And even when Kovalev would land flush jabs and knock Ward back, they'd act like, Ward rolled with it. He rolled with it. You know, that wasn't clean. And when Ward shook his head, like that means that it didn't land. When Ward shook his head, oh yeah, that punch didn't land. He shook his head.
Yeah, there are people saying he didn't land anything in that second half as well. It's like, well, we all saw the polo punch.
Yeah.
I know that's one of my favorite. I need that gift.
That's the easiest way to dead that argument in a flash. Bolo punch, bam, just it's a flush jab.
Yeah, the only 2 fighters who can pull that kind of shit off are Floyd Mayweather and Adrian Broner. You know, if you're not skilled like those 2 guys, you shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff.
Lim, you got anything else for us?
Nope, that's it.
All right, Leon, Naota, anything from you guys?
No, I'm done, man.
I just want to give a quick shout out to there's a big fight happening in the Philippines this weekend between Milan Melindo and Tirapong Utaira, aka Falan Saklirin Jr. And it's a good fight. It's for the interim IBF light flyweight title. Both these guys are like evenly matched, dead evenly matched, like 2 of the best fighters that aren't champions at the weight class. And I'm guessing they're having it for an interim title because the IBF doesn't show what Akira Higashi, the actual champion, is going to be doing, because he was talking about possibly moving up, or who knows if he's going to stay at the weight and fight the winner. So I think they made it the interim title specifically for that reason, because they're not exactly sure what Higashi's next move is going to be, because he's trying to get something for New Year's. But it's a fantastic fight between those 2. Utaida's a really tall guy for the weight class, 5'6" light flyweight. So he's long ranging, got good power. And Melindo, of course, most people know from his losses to Estrada and Javier Mendoza. You know, he's a scrappy fighter, good inside fighter, and just the type of fighter that could give Utaida some trouble if he manages to get on the inside. But it's going to be hell trying to get on the inside. Like I said, tall fighter, 67-inch reach. And, he sparked out Ryo Miyazaki, who was an undefeated champion at the time in 3 rounds. So that'll be a solid fight between those 2.
Excellent. Thank you.
Where else do you get that?
Nowhere.
Nowhere else, man. Get me a link to that fight.
No doubt.
You have a link. Yeah.
For sure.
Good.
All right. Thank you, Naota. Thanks to all the guys that jumped on the show today. Leon, Naota, Dan jumped on. Get well soon, Dan, and also Hammad and Christoph. Christoph, definitely call again in future, man. Great having you on the show.
Christoph called?
Yep, he did indeed. Mr. Great.
That's awesome, man.
His first call on the show, man. It was great to have him on. Thanks.
Where's Christoph from?
He's from the UK, but he's half Russian, so his Russian pronunciations are excellent.
Yeah, we need to have him on much more consistently then. I always like Christoph, so hopefully he comes back on next Monday.
Fingers crossed. Yep. Thank you to all the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Oh, dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically bun you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Great.
Do we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass.
Just to play devil's advocate.
You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side?
But you won't crush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you?
He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weigh for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.